Can I have your attention, please? The meeting tonight is being live streamed, so please be cognizant of the fact that there are 2 cameras in the back and 1 here in the front, so don't linger in front of them or try to keep your passing in front of them to a minimum. And we're going to start. We're starting now.
Okay, the recorder. Thank you. It's okay. That's what I'm here for, is to...
Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome. This is Community Board 2's February 2020 full board meeting. We're going to start with attendance. Valerie De La Rosa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Susanna Aaron. Keen Berger. Carter Booth.
Here.
Katie Bordenaro.
Your pen.
Anita Brandt. Amy Brenna. Rich Cacapolo. Ritu Chaudhry. Eric Kohler. Tom Connor. Coral Dawson. Valerie Del Rosa. Doris Diether. Robert Ely. Mar Fitzgerald. Cormac Flynn. Joseph Gallagher. David Gruber. Wayne Kawadler. Susan Kent.
Here.
Janine Kiley. Patricia Larea. Michael Levine. Janet Liff. Edward Ma. Maud Marin. Daniel Miller.
Here.
Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono. Robin Rothstein. Sandy Russo. Rocio Sands. Scott Sartiano. Dr. Shirley Secunda. Wrong one. Doing it for the live stream, guys. Okay. Shirley Secunda is here. Kristen Shea. Frederica Siegel.
Thank you. That's yes.
Georgia Silvera Siemens. Dr. Shirley Smith. Chenault Spence. Susan Wittenberg. Anthony Wong. And Adam Zeldin. Thank you.
Ed Moss.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. And now we're going to begin our public session, and Dan Miller, First Vice Chair, is going to run the public session.
Thank you, Carter. When you hear your name, please come to the mic over here to my left, and you have 2 minutes to speak. And the first 7 speakers are Christopher Marte, Jan Lee, and Mitchell Tree, Sherry Fagan, Jane Carey, Janine Kiley, and Brandon Zwagerman. Yeah, first come, first serve. Yeah, Christopher, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, everyone. My name is Christopher Marte, State Committee of the 65th Assembly District, but today I'm here representing Neighbors United Below Canal, which Jan and myself are co-founders. We founded NUBC to fight against the development of the jail on 124 and 125 White Street. And for over the past year and a half, we've been organizing, educating, and activating a lot of the stakeholders in that community who weren't part of the process. This past Friday, we filed a lawsuit against the City of New York, City Planning, and a few other agencies on the basis that they did not follow their required procedural requirements under the ULURP process, under SEQR, which is the State Environmental Quality Review Act, because of a few things. The city did not hold a scoping meeting for the development of this jail. And why is that so important? It's because that's the opportunity where stakeholders, experts come and actually ask questions to the cities for the city to respond to their questions. In addition, they violated the city charter under the ULURP process because they put 4 developments in 4 different boroughs in one ULURP process. So that means any development in the future could be multi-location developments under this process, and in that sets a really dangerous precedent, especially under this administration that's pro-mega development. And so we filed this lawsuit with 5 petitioners, one of them being a 90-year-old senior who lives a block away from 125 White Street. The other is DCTV, which is housed in the fire station, the firehouse just a block away from that development, which foundation is sinking, and this development will destroy the building. In addition, we have small business owners that signed leases without acknowledgement that this jail will be developed there, and their new office site is on the same block as the jail, and now they're losing tenants because they realize that they won't be able to fill the space. In addition, we have Jan, who's third-generation Chinese resident and a small business owner, and the contamination and the effects that this development is going to have is going to be really dangerous, and the city has never answered any of these questions. Thank you for the time.
We have questions. Ed? Did you have a question, Ed, or is that a comment?
Did you include this as your, evidence?
We-
They are violation, and very illegal, too many.
Yeah.
Illegal, too many, very cheating and fraud. So just to make these things just over the press, you think the community silence, Have you told this before?
We did not include that into the lawsuit. This lawsuit is all about procedural. It's a land use process, and we believe the city, and we have proof that the city violated their own land use process. If anyone wants to read more on it, I have a stack of papers that describe all the petitioners, the claims that we make, and you can find more information on neighborsunitedbelowcanal.com.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Community Board 2. In our lawsuit, which is over 2,000 pages, as Chris has mentioned, we have a number of petitioners. One of the petitioners is the American Indian Community House representing Native peoples. In the environmental impact statement, it acknowledges, for instance, that there is a very high likelihood that there are archaeological objects belonging to Native peoples, yet they were ignored and they were not included in these closed-door meetings. And so that's part of the reason why we had to sue the city. There was no scoping hearing when the site was changed from 125 White Street to, from 80 Center Street to 125 White Street. You folks would have been included to part of those public scoping hearings. Those meetings were private, they were closed door, and that's why we had to sue. So I want to give people an idea of the context. Traffic that is going to be rumbling through out of Chinatown full of debris when they start demolishing is going to go through this community. The cement trucks are going to come from Brooklyn. They're going to run through Canal Street. They're going to come through Community Board 2. You would have had a chance to comment on that. You were not given that chance, and that's why we had to sue. We are a community at risk. We just had a fire in the middle of Chinatown. We have streets that are closed now. We have debris that is now going to be rumbling through our streets as they start to decide what to do at 70 Mulberry Street. We have a downturn in, because of coronavirus. The idea that they're going to start demolishing enormous jail at this time is absolutely unconscionable, and that's why we had to sue. So much of the information that we came out with in our lawsuit should have been done by the city, should have been included. However, this process through, as Chris had said, 4 ULURPs, 4 counties, 4 locations, there isn't simply enough time. What I warned this community board, this can happen again where we have multiple ULURPs folded in by either the city or private contractors. The city council
Please
has
wrap it
opened
up.
the door wide.
Wrap it up, please.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks. Yes, I have a question.
Yes, what is the
Mike.
timetable, I'm sorry, can you come back? What is the timetable for the ULURP now that the location has been changed? And will your lawsuit delay implementation of this site at all, or will it go ahead as originally planned?
They're full steam ahead, Michael. Our lawsuit is not an injunction, so the fact that we have sued does not mean that they're going to stop. What I want to make very aware, that you should be aware of, a request for qualifications has already gone out, not to the public, it wasn't released to the community boards, it was released to selected architectural firms, a request for qualifications to start figuring out how they're going to empty the MDC and the tombs of 800 people. That could be here, That could be on my block, that could be anywhere in the city. They have not yet decided, and you guys probably haven't had anyone from the city tell you that an RFQ has already gone out to try to locate that. That's February 2020. That's happening right now.
Cormac?
So, I just want to ask, because I hear all the objections to the process the way it's being carried out. So, I just want to clarify, though. Your organization is okay with a jail at that location or right near that location. You just object to the way in which the city is going about the process. Is that correct?
The current site is a jail. There's already 3 jails in Chinatown, and so, it's not an argument on whether there's an existing jail now. And so the way that the city has conducted this process, where it took Jan, myself, and a few others who work full-time jobs to really,
No, I got it. I
Yeah.
just want to clarify. Your objections are to the way that you're going about this. This is not a NIMBY thing about the jail itself.
exactly.
Not NIMBY.
Seeing no other questions, thank you. Dr. Shirley Smith?
Yes,
We both
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike the council member. Unlike the council member.
Ed Ma has another question.
Chin.
Now the present utilized by the city is based
She voted yes.
Make sure he has a question.
80 Worth Street. Now it's 125 White Street. It doesn't difference. There should be start from the beginning. Number one. Number two, the 4 communities, each community deserve a unique ULR. Instead of one size fit all.
That's right.
Doesn't cheat. Let's keep treating children.
Ed, I don't think that was a question, that was a comment. All right, thank you very, Lois?
Question, as you started to say, who is the council member?
Chin.
Okay, and she is not in your grid?
No.
Where's your grid? What's the grid?
You mean the core of, the traditional core of Chinatown? Well, all the way up to Grand, south to Park Row, Canal Street, all the way to,
Her office is there.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mitchell Tree?
Hello. Just a quick speech. Here we go. Everyone assembled here in this room, from the stage, up the stairs, through the audience, out the back door, we're all compassionate, sensitive, understanding of the needs of the underserved, the working class, and the homeless regarding affordable housing. Our problem is that Mayor Bill de Blasio has attached any building of any affordable housing to the building of overlarge development. Bill de Blasio understands our desire for affordable housing. He has held up affordable housing to a ransom that we must pay, which is skyscrapers and overlarge development. The extorted price we must pay for affordable housing is overlarge development. There are many health and safety reasons that make skyscrapers and overlarge development dangerous on many fronts. My personal priority is the NYU students who frequent the campus below 14th Street and above Canal. My priority is to make that NYU area as safe as possible so that those students can obtain their college education without a tragic accident or a deliberate catastrophe. My second priority is to maintain the historic district. The mayor has already agreed to establish a historic district as an outdoor museum, a street scene, preserving the cultural significance of 19th century architecture. But the mayor has decided to back down on the historic district, to ruin the historic district by inserting overlarge development and, in some cases, skyscrapers. No historic preservation effort would ever recommend overly large development or skyscrapers in the historic building district.
Please wrap it up.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Sherry, still here? Okay, Jane Carey? Oh, Sherry, go ahead.
This is tricky. Hi, my name is Sherry Lake, and I'm co-chair of the St. Luke's Blocks Association for the last 38 years, give or plus a year. And J.J. Walker is a very special place to the people that live around the park. And historically, the J.J. Walker ball field was named for Jimmy Walker because he was the fellow that actually got baseball on Sunday. I think that the idea of putting a plaque and putting the quote that Ray said on the ball field is a very constructive way to honor him. I think that when we start carving out little areas for people, it dilutes the whole effect of what J.J. Walker Park is about. So we would prefer to see a plaque with Ray's name there, with giving him credit for that, or putting a plaque where the basketball court is, which is really where he served most of the people, including some of the residents of our street who, I polled everybody almost, and they would prefer another way of honoring this man. Thank you.
We have a question. Rich?
Yeah, I think there's a clarification I probably should have made at the meeting, but I didn't understand it at the time when this was discussed. The ball field is currently not named J.J. Walker Ball Field. The field is not named anything. The park is named J.J. Walker Park.
May I comment?
But it's not a renaming. It's a naming.
May I comment?
Yes.
I would say that it's common knowledge that it's J.J. Walker Ball Field. When kids go for Little League or they go for soccer or for anything, it's J.J. Walker. That's how people know it. So even though it, quote unquote, doesn't have a name tag on it, according to you, it was part of a whole park system that was J.J. Walker. It has subsequently been subdivided to honor somebody who was on the community board that helped the community immensely, and particularly with the park. But I think that when you start carving these out, you can get to a point where you're going to carve out the playground. About 25 years ago, the playground was redone, and they asked me, did I want my name on the playground? And I said, no. I just wanted a place for my kids to play. That was what I really wanted. So I want to see the integrity of the park maintained, and I thank you for your time.
Jane?
Hi, I'm Jane Carey with the Whitney Museum. I'm here to talk about our latest exhibition. On Monday, we opened Vida Americana. It's an exhibition that shows how Mexican muralists from the 20s and 30s influenced American art. Our curator, Barbara Haskell, is really trying to rewrite art history here. There's a common idea that the abstract expressionists that we all know, like Jackson Pollock, were influenced by the French, but we show through this show that it's really the Mexican artists, the big muralists, that had an influence on him and his contemporaries. So we're really excited about this because we think it's a great time for the show to be up, to remind people about how wonderful it is to have all these different influences and part of our society. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, I printed out this, and I have a few at the back. These talk about our education programs that accompany Vida Americana. The Whitney, for a long time, has been trying to expand our offerings for Spanish-speaking audiences. And Vida is a fantastic opportunity for us to try new things. So we are offering our Family Day on March 21st. We'll have bilingual activities. That's free for all children 18 and under and anybody that comes to the museum. We have our Teen Night on March 6th. Whitney's always welcomes teens 18 and under to come anytime, and we offer teen programs almost every Friday night, but that will be a big blowout evening with mural making and other activities. And we're offering tours for immigrant families each month. In April, we'll have a few other programs for immigrant families. We have an Immigrant Justice Rights Night, which we've done for a few years now and will be expanding, and an Immigrant Family Night, but details are still being worked out on that. So I hope that everybody can come. It's open until May 17th, and we have Pay What You Wish hours every Friday night from 7 to 10. That's it.
Yes.
It's a night where we work with our community partners, and we invite folks in to learn about different resources that are available to them. So I think that in the past we've had folks from some of the pro bono legal groups to come in and talk about, make sure that people are aware of the different services that are available.
Thank you, Jane.
Yep, thanks.
Janine?
I'm making an announcement on behalf of Cressida Connolly, a Greenwich Village parent of hockey players. As some of you may or may not know that the city is planning to renovate Lasker Pool and Ice Rink in Central Park. It's one of the few public ice rinks in the city, and that's basically one of the closest free places that people from down here would play hockey. It's great. They're renovating it. They're making it smaller. Switching from 2 to 1 ice skating rink in the winter and a much smaller pool that if you've been by there in the summer, it's been packed ever since I've lived in the city, and getting rid of the kiddie pool. So if you are interested in learning more about this issue, you can sign the change.org petition. Just Google change.org and Lasker Pool. It'll come right up. Or contact Cressida Connolly, CRESSIDAC for Connolly, @gmail.com, or see me in the audience if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon?
Hi, my name is Brandon Zwagerman. I'm here from the Soho Broadway Initiative, but making an announcement in partnership with the Department of Small Business Services. Applications are now open for the Neighborhood 360 Fellows Program. Neighborhood 360 Fellows help community-based organizations complete commercial revitalization projects and connect local stakeholders to city resources. Fellows are paid full-time community development professionals, community organizers, or planners. They are placed for a 10-month paid position that begin June 2020. The Department of Small Business Services aims to build a network of leaders prepared with commercial revitalization expertise and experience in New York City neighborhoods. The fellows will be placed to work on a specific project in one of 10 community-based organization placement sites. The Soho Broadway Initiative has been selected as one of the host sites this year, which we're very excited about. The deadline to apply is March 8. If you'd like to apply or learn more about the program, go to nyc.gov/neighborhood360. Please spread the word to anyone you might know who'd be interested in this program. There also are some flyers I put on the table up in the back. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Following speakers, please come down. Excuse me. Dylan Bunnell, Teddy Corlier, Dave Crenshaw, Owen Lee, excuse me, say that one. Excuse me.
I'm not sure of the name, but it's in reference, the item is Okini, which is a liquor license application.
Hi, I'm Dylan Bunnell. I'm part of Mercedes Group. We're on the docket later tonight on the SLA Committee number 2. We're opening up a lounge at 446 West 14th Street. Sorry, I'm too tall here. Just wanted to give you a quick background on myself and my partner before the agenda goes up and all you see is a lounge and club opening up. My name is Dylan Bunnell. I went to Stanford University. I am now a Vice President at Bank of America. This is a project I've really wanted to be involved with for a very long time, being able to bring a little culture back to New York and the meatpacking. We're going to be centralized on focusing, bringing New York-aspired events, as well as a place where the true New Yorker can come and celebrate the night.
Good evening. My name is Coach Dave Crenshaw. I'm very glad to be here. I'm not from this neighborhood. I'm from Uptown, and I came to talk to you all about Ray Pagan and naming a field after him at the Carmine Dappolito Recreation Center. Me and Ray, we've been working together since the early 90s, and we used to have a say in Uptown because Washington Heights was on fire. So we used to take the A to Ray, and everything would be okay. I'm a coach. I'm the losingest coach of all time in Carmine, okay? And the reason why I made it so good at Carmine is because Ray told me 3 things. He said, first, show up and show up on time, because they got a schedule down here and people is busy down here. Number 2, he said, play hard. We be down by 30 points, 40 points. My girls, my boys never quit. We're going to keep playing hard because we're just glad to have a gym where we appreciate it. And the final thing was, I thought he was going to tell me I had to win games or I was going to have to do certain things. He said, make friends. Never heard a director tell me that before. He said, the most important thing here at the Carmine Dappolito Center is to make friends. And that's what we did. We played hard, we showed up on time, we learned how to make friends. Because Carmine Dappolito under Ray was where you learned how to coach. He trained so many people how to coach, how to referee, how to help out. When other people just used to leave you out there and you didn't know what you was doing, he would give you advice. It's a lot of parents around here who learned how to coach and become coaches and referees in Carmine. I call it Carmine because I'm original school. Finally, though, no one else took care of girls the way Ray took care of girls. It was a Title IX gym. He understood that some days was just for girls. We had a whole lot of girls coming through his gym. As a matter of fact, it's my 25th Girls Sports Day uptown. On the back of my shirt, we still say thank you to Downtown Ray. We love Ray. We appreciate him. He helped a lot of my kids get through college because we came to the village and learned that people that don't look like us will still help us. Thank you. I hope you follow his recommendation and name the place after him.
Thanks, Coach Dave. Shirley, a question?
Is Ray alive or is he dead?
Ray passed away 2 years ago.
Is he from this neighborhood?
Well, if you talk to enough of your neighbors, Ray coached thousands of people through the field and through the gym. He's been in the Dappolito Recreation Center for at least 30 years.
Did he live in the neighborhood?
Yes, he lived in the neighborhood. Yes. Huh?
Oh, come on.
Yes, he's from downtown. I don't know exactly where he lived, but I know he's from downtown. Downtown is big.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Coach, you're getting me excited just in time for March Madness. So. My name's Owen. I'm actually just an area resident. I live down a block from Okini. I think the two proprietors are there. I'm here to speak on behalf of their petition to upgrade the liquor license. Everyone's favorite topic, obviously. Or least favorite topic. In Japan, I spent some time in Japan, and one of the major things is sake is actually doesn't pair well with sushi or Japanese food. In general, you don't want to go rice on top of rice. So if you go to a Japanese restaurant, an izakaya, a sushi place in Japan, you often see shochu, you see obviously Japanese whiskeys, and really common drinks are highballs, cocktails, where you can actually really get differentiation between sushi and what you're actually drinking. So, yeah, right now, I think their license is just beer and wine, so they're looking to upgrade it. And I just live down a block, so they asked me to speak, and yeah, I spent some time in Japan. I'm a huge foodie, and that's it. So.
Thank you.
That's it. There was one other speaker speaking on the same issue. Anyone else want to speak on that? There's no name given. Yes? Okay. And your name, just please let us know your name too, please.
And fill out one.
I think
My name is Teddy Gonzalez. I am the representative for the application.
Could you say your name one more time?
Teddy Gonzalez.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
For the application right now you're discussing, Okini Village Hibachi.
Yes, you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so, yes, I will. So basically, the restaurant has been there for a long time. We have a petition that we submitted to the community board. We have like 81 people that signed the petition. And they're actually asking for a license they were actually for a license to 2 o'clock in the morning. But you know something? They're willing to do it to 12 o'clock or work with the community board at the end of the day. Bottom line, they want to be able to compete with everybody else. They're doing hibachi. Hibachi restaurants, honestly, the majority of hibachi restaurants, they have full liquor licenses. This place is not going to go into a club or anything else. Basically what they're doing is they're doing hibachi restaurant, and before they had the hibachi, but they had the hibachi and it was not the regular hibachi style. If I go to a hibachi restaurant, I like the guy that does the cook in front of me and all that. And that's what they're doing. They're changing it. And it's amazing. It's fun. It's actually fun because I take my kids and I take my friends and we have a party. And you know something? It's entertaining and people, they engage and all that. And that's what they're looking to do. They're not looking to open it to a club or anything to that effect, okay? They signed a stipulation, the previous owner signed a stipulation. This is a new entity, number one, and I seen that the licensing committee opposed it because they signed a stipulation they would not go for an upgrade. There's bars in the area and on the block that open till 4 in the morning. And I looked it up, I called them myself to confirm it. And you know something, this restaurant, if they can open till 12 o'clock, that's fine. They just want to be able to provide some,
Just wrap it up.
some service for everybody. And you know, hibachi is pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. I do it, I enjoy it.
Right.
But the bottom thing is that, you know something, when I went to the meeting, they said there was no license till 4 in the morning. There are 2 licenses till 4 in the morning on the same block.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. You get 2 minutes in the public session. Any questions? Seeing none, that's the end of our public session. Carter Booth, Chair, Community Board 2.
Thank you, Dan. Now we're going to move on to the rest of the agenda. That's the end of the public session. As Dan said, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
The agenda is adopted. Now we're going to move on to reports to the public. Start with our elected officials' reports. Do you guys want to come down and looks like we're going to start with Charlie.
Hi, good evening. Charlie Anderson from Assemblymember Deborah Glick's office. Just 2 quick things this evening. We have a very short board report in the back. We did write, first off, to Pat Foy at the MTA regarding congestion pricing. So the idea when congestion pricing was included in the budget last session was that any public hearings that were going to be held held this year so that a recommendation comes out at the end of the year. The schedule for public hearings has yet to be determined or even stated. And so we have asked that the MTA through Pat Foy, I'm not even sure if the governor or if the MTA itself has made all their appointments to the commission that would be looking into the individual machinations of how congestion pricing would be determined for the public. So we have written to him, encouraging them, imploring them, asking them strongly that they please convene that commission and actually have a few public hearings so that folks can weigh in. We know that, or at least the Assemblymember feels that folks who may own a car that live downtown don't drive around downtown, but may leave on occasion and come back and would like to have input onto how it is that they may be told on the way back in and so on. So we have asked that they do that. Second thing, starting earlier this year in January, a bill that us and Senator Homan that I mentioned last month came online, which was the new applications to SLA would be posted online. There is a link that is through the SLA website, but it is through New York State Open Data, which kind of can be a little hairy to work through. And I made this offer at District Service, and I'll do it here in front of everyone. Carter and I went through it on the phone a little bit. If anyone's interested and wants to call, I've kind of done it a few times, and we can kind of work through it together, but you can find the stuff. So it is interesting. So for folks who are wondering about the new applications, definitely take a look at that. It is a data set, so you do kind of have to thumb through it a little differently. That's it.
Shirley.
Shirley, Bob, and
We can't hear you.
I have a concern because I want to get a bit more clarity on congestion pricing. When I take taxes, which I do often, there's this additional money that they say, and it's say congestion pricing. So where's that money going if there is no, the process you described is defunct or has not been implicated as it should be, but yet they're taking money from the public?
So the state, the one that I was referencing, that has to do with, yes, but there are 2 different types. So, yes, so what you're referencing is the surcharge that's on the taxis. That has to do with the city. That's city. The state version that I was referencing, that while we are concerned with both, we were ultimately concerned with what was passed in the budget in 2019. That has to do with the individual tolls that are placed upon individual private cars that individuals own coming in and out of the congestion zone at 60th Street. So the ones that you're referencing is anyone traveling below 96th, I believe. That's legal, that's everything. Well, it's supposed to fund the congestion pricing, or the surcharge, and my city folks can maybe correct me if I get it wrong, but the surcharge that is on the taxis, that's supposed to go to specific improvements for the New York City subway. There had been a few issues, I think I read in the city or something, that it might actually be going to fund parts of the program that is the late night fare that happens in the outer boroughs, although that's not a good term, places that are more transit deserts, about getting folks from one place to the other. And I lived in an outer borough for a while, and getting folks from train stations that are far away, like on cabs and so on, there is a subsidy program. Sure.
Hey, Charlie, can you just clarify the open data on SLA? Are those for applications or stipulations?
New applications that have to do with the stipulations. So for you to be able to see what the community board did, or what was said when those go live, so you can actually see what the stipulations are, rather than, am I getting that right, Carter? I think I'm getting that right.
Yeah, there's a point where it begins where the data is available. I'm not sure what.
And then it
point
stays
but
there.
it
In
is
other words, once the
historical.
applications have been approved, that information stays there. It's not just applications and the
Correct.
balance.
Correct. It's generally the information that's printed on the face of the liquor license. There's a small amount of space, and it generally reflects that or any other information, but it's not necessarily exhaustive.
Thank you.
And I checked on my way in, and it's alive as of February 4th. That's the most up to date right now. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Do you have a question, Ed?
For which, I'm sorry? I think you may be referring to the impact fee, or impact fee legislation, which has been refiled for this year. I cannot remember the bill number off the top of my head or where it is currently, but I'll have something for next month. I'll remember. Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shivani from Assemblymember News Office. So first, we have our monthly board report that you can get in the back there, but the biggest update is that it is about to be budget season, which is very busy. So following our town hall, Yuleen led letters to match our community's priorities. The top issue that our constituents came to our office for is housing issues. A majority of those issues are within public housing. This year, Yuleen again led requests for the funding of emergency capital repairs in public housing. The request is in the amount of $3 billion for public housing authorities throughout the state. For the last 3 years, Yuleen also led efforts each budget session to ask for public housing funding and has secured $550 million total for public housing. Our other big one is Yuleen requested a restoration of funding for the Settlement House program, which was cut from the executive budget again this year. In addition to the restoration, Yuleen has also requested to more than double the previous amount of funding for these services from $2.45 million to $5 million. Yuleen successfully led previous efforts to restore funding to the Settlement House program and expanding funding. Settlement houses have been integrated into neighborhoods across New York State for decades, with some serving their communities for over 100 years. They are unique in that they serve families and individuals where they live and provide a broad array of innovative programs designed to address the specific needs of neighborhoods. And then finally, for NORCs, or naturally occurring retirement communities, Yuleen requested a $1 million increase. In addition to maintaining the current proposed $8.055 million commitment in the executive budget. In previous years, Yuleen has fought and successfully maintained NORC program funding, expanding funding caps for service providers, and more than doubled the amount of funding for our NORC programs. NORCs play pivotal roles in securing successful health outcomes for our seniors by keeping them healthy, active, and socially engaged. If you want to look at any of those letters, we have them printed in full, also back with the community board reports. Does anyone have any questions? Assemblymember Yuleen New. Assemblymember Yuleen New. Yes. Okay. Great, thanks, guys.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob with State Senator Brad Hoylman's office. Speaking of budgets, we are hosting a New York State Senate Manhattan delegation forum on Saturday, February 29th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the New York Academy of Medicine on Fifth Avenue. The address is on our board reports, but we encourage you to all come out and speak on the priorities that should make it into the Senate budget. And the senator has so many pieces of legislation that I would also encourage you to read our board report on that. But some of the highlights include banning flavored e-cigarettes, as well as putting a moratorium on facial recognition technology used by law enforcement, which has become a huge privacy concern. But many more bills to read up on, and would be happy to share them if you ask.
Joe, you had a question?
Sure. He is not in favor of amending it at this point. We believe there should be more time and more data, and we have yet to see any sort of bill language that would repeal or change the bail reform language. So with that, it would be hard to commit to something that we don't have any knowledge about. Yep. Yep. Sure. Yes, absolutely. There were a few examples in Queens and Brooklyn that really hit the news a few months ago of people and landlords using key fobs and facial recognition technology cameras to track when residents come and go in their buildings. And we have legislation that would address the use of that data and recognize that people need a physical key to get in to their apartments so that that data isn't used.
And it's particularly concerning to some of my colleagues because the accuracy rate of facial recognition is very poor
Yep.
for people of color and for women of color, in particular. So it's a lot of false readings of it. So that's another thing that has come to my attention.
Yeah, and in addition to the privacy concerns, there are concerns about the use of it in not just law enforcement, but the way it's applied in other forms and the inherent bias that it has baked into it. So it's not a good combination.
Rocio.
Matt, Rocio.
I'll have to look into that. I don't know exactly what the language would ban or not ban, but I'd be happy to get back to you on that one. Sure, and I use a key fob for my apartment, so completely understand.
Did you have? No, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jay.
Awesome, thank you.
There you go. Hello, my name is Irak Chehansky for the Office of Councilmember Carolina Rivera. I have a full board report in the back. Two big updates. Carolina visited the Small Business, Economic Development and Small Business Committee of CB2 this February and early in the month to discuss all her efforts for small businesses. In the report, you can read all of it, but I'm going to mention a few of those. Currently, in Community Board 3, she's fighting for a special retail district. What this means is that she's asking the Department of City Planning to create regulations to allow only for certain size retail spaces and prohibit national change from all but certain streets, because, depending on the width of the street. Other thing that she's been doing is with an organization called Renaissance, a local economic development organization. She helped to create a fund that provides inexpensive loans to small businesses on East Village below 4th Avenue and some parts of 3rd Avenue to help them to do upgrades to new marketing plans or any, small infrastructure, whether it's like signs, economic plans, and such as that. Other stuff that she's been doing is she's been working with local bids, particularly with Village Alliance, and merchants associations in visibility campaigns, including launching a mobile app. I don't know if you know it, but Village Alliance has a mobile app that you can look all 8th Street, and it tells you, offers or discounts that you can access to through the mobile app. So if you don't have it, you should download it. And one important announcement, March 12th, census will be starting. You can fill out online. They'll have a link on the paper. But also, if you're interested, and I'm going to be brief because I'm running out of time, you can join your neighborhood organizing census committees. There's a website that you can look which one are these in the neighborhood you live at, and you can help if you're interested.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rack.
Thank you.
Questions?
No?
No questions. Thanks.
Good night.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Drummond from Councilmember Margaret Chin's office. So just a couple of announcements. One, our newsletter is in the back, but just want to highlight, as most of everyone know, with the coronavirus going around, there's been a big effect and impact on in Chinatown with the Chinatown restaurants and businesses. So our office has been promoting the hashtag Dine in Chinatown. We'd like to encourage a lot of folks and community members to patronize the businesses in Chinatown, encourage them to eat, shop, and so forth. So we really want to distill the whole rise of discrimination and xenophobia that's been going around in those areas, particularly in the Chinatown neighborhood. So just wanted to announce that. And then also too, if everyone is aware, March 1st will be the day that the plastic bag use is done, and there will be charged a 5-cent fee for paper bags, but our office is promoting a usable bag that we're going to be giving out on Saturday, February 29th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Grand and Clinton Street. So our office will be distributing reusable bags for... If I lose my 50 pounds, we'll be able to do that. Sorry. So our office will be distributing reusable bags on, again, February 29th from 11 to 1. And those are my announcements. Be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Georgia? Question is, what are the exceptions to the plastic bag ban?
Who can use, basically, who can still?
I read some, I don't know what they were, but I did read that there, for example, for fruits, meats, I think that there's some exceptions, but not for...
Yeah, there's certain, along that line, there's certain groceries that, and I can't get the specifics offhand, but there are a few exceptions. I apologize that I don't know them completely, but there are a couple that, I know groceries is one, I think for seniors, because I was reading something in regards to that as well, but I can't.
Lois?
Oh, yes, there we go, yes. No, that's correct, SNAP, people with SNAP supplemental income, and yes, exactly. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ian?
Clinton and Grand is where I live now, but I know it's not Community Board 2. So
Yeah.
is she not giving anything for Community Board 2?
No, we're promoting it throughout the district. We can definitely take it back and do specific if you want to have one specifically within Community Board 2, but we're announcing throughout for the entire district, David. So we're spreading it around, but this is just
So the free bags are only in Community Board 3. Is that right?
Clinton and Grand right now, right? Correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Any other questions? Lois?
Clarification.
many of the council members throughout the city are giving out these bags. It's not just for New York, not for Manhattan, it's New York City, it's all the boroughs that this law is going into effect. So you just have to look where you are and be lucky that you get one, and we have so many. When you get an organization, they send you one right away.
Are you starting a collection of them?
I have a collection. I'm the bag lady now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Luke Wolf. I'm with City Controller Scott Stringer's office. I'll start off by saying the Controller was excited to join many members of CB2 this past month at the Education Committee's Dyslexia Forum, and generally commends a lot of the work that you guys have been doing as real leaders on that issue. In addition, we have our internship program currently available, so if you know any college students or graduate students who are looking for a paid internship in government, which always aren't the easiest things to find, our internship program is available through March 6th, so a few more weeks to apply. In addition, we will be having our Irish Heritage event coming up on March 19th. It's a breakfast in our office. It's a nice event. We are honoring a community leader as well as a union leader who heads the Firefighters Union. So if you have a drop of Irish blood and would like to celebrate Irish heritage, please feel free to come on out. Or if you want to, or if you want to celebrate Irish heritage, or if you want to celebrate Irish heritage, I'll be there, and I'm not Irish. In addition, I just want to talk about housing for a second. I know that's something that this community board has been discussing a lot. Last month, the Comptroller put out his own affordable housing plan for the city, and one of the big things that this would do is we think it would reorient a lot of the current city policies and generate a lot more affordable housing. So one step we really want to take is repeal 421A, which is a $1.6 billion a year tax credit for developers. Another step we want to take is to use all the available city land. There's over 1,000 plots in the city, and use those as the foundation for affordable housing and for the future of home ownership across the city. And we also want to change the requirements about what developers need to do for affordable housing and make so you don't need to have an upzoning to have affordability requirements, and really introduce more affordability across a lot of areas in New York. But we really want to make sure that we promote home ownership, that we're not just giving tax breaks away to developers. We also came out with came out with a Tenants' Bill of Rights, so we want to make sure that if you sign a lease anywhere in the city, you know all the rights that come with that, whether it's security deposits, heat, hot water, all those, that you get those as your lease gets signed, so you don't get taken advantage of by as a renter.
Great, thanks, Luke. Questions?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan Feiner. I'm with City Council Speaker Corey Johnson's office. I'll be Patrice Comerford for tonight while she's on vacation in South Florida. So if you want to get a reusable bag in CB2, our office will be... No offense. You want to see my smiling face again, our office will be handing out reusable bags from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday the 22nd at Abingdon Square. Some additional updates. Next Tuesday, that would be the 25th, our office will be having a community resource fair. This is a great way to connect with a lot of local agencies and organizations, get questions answered by flyers back up there. That will be up out of CB2 at Touro College on West 31st Street, 320 West 31st. And then lastly, we are finalizing our participatory budgeting ballot for this cycle, so keep an eye out for that. Vote week will be from March 28th to April 5th, and we've got some really fun and exciting CB2 projects on that ballot. That's all I got, short and sweet.
Any questions? Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, Katie. Katie has a question.
I'll certainly pass it along. Thank you. And we also have a pair of scissors as well that are very large. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eliana. I'm here on behalf of Senator Kavanaugh's office. I have a few updates. We will be hosting a hearing on housing and homelessness on February 28th. At 10 a.m. in our office at 250 Broadway. If you would like to attend, you can RSVP. I have all of the information on our board report, which is in the back. There will also be an opportunity to submit testimony if you have something that you'd like to share. This is building off of Senator Kavanaugh's work related to housing and homelessness. He recently introduced a bill to create the Housing Access Voucher Program, which is a bill that would provide a rental subsidy to help folks who are experiencing homelessness or who are on the brink of facing housing loss. Additionally, we've done a lot of work on code enforcement. 11 bills were just passed on February 12th related to code enforcement. Senator Kavanaugh sponsored a bill that will create a statewide residential rental registry to provide information relating to rental units, including code violations, which we think will protect a lot of folks who were experiencing issues with that in the past. And then just to second what Jacob shared earlier, we will also be participating in the budget forum on the 29th. So definitely come join us for that so that you can make your priorities for the budget heard by your senators. Thank you. Yes.
Shirley, you have a question.
Thank you. You will be giving information about vouchers, you said, for housing.
So that's part of the bill that the senator just put forth. So that we'll see if
Was that, you mean Section 8? Is that what you're talking about?
it's separate. It would be a new voucher program.
A new voucher.
Yeah.
You'll be talking about that, that particular thing?
That will be, if you'd like to know more about that, you can see it in the report, but it's also, of course, it's also, we'll be talking about that at the hearing on the 28th of February, yes. Yeah. Oh.
Joe.
Senator Kavanaugh is in support of amending the bail legislation that he voted in support of 8 months ago.
He doesn't have a public stance on that yet. We'll let you know when that comes forward.
He's voted for it last spring, right?
I'm not gonna share on that right now, but I will put forth information when we have that to distribute.
Borough President's report, Andrew?
Hello, Andrew Chang from the Manhattan Borough President's Office. Just want to remind folks that we're still taking submissions for our capital funding grants. This is available to city agencies, nonprofit schools for long-term investments in property or equipment. The deadline is February 28th, 2020. We're having a Women's History Month open house event on March 1st on a Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. at our office on the 19th floor. We'll mark the 100th anniversary of the passage of the women's suffrage movement, the 19th Amendment. And please come on out if you're free. Also, our annual State of the Borough event will be on March 29th, a Sunday. It's going to actually be at the Hammerstein Ballroom at the Manhattan Center. So please stay tuned as we announce more details regarding that event. And then last couple of things, we give out free bags during Earth Day weekend. So Earth Day is, I believe, April 22nd. So we distribute lots of reusable bags, either the weekend before Earth Day or if Earth Day happens to be on a weekday. And then we'll be doing that again this year. And then I'm the one that brings all these census materials and items for the public to take. We're just trying to help promote the census and how the census is still recruiting census takers, folks who will knock on doors to follow up with folks who haven't completed their census form yet. and the pay is, I believe, $28 an hour. So if you know folks who are interested in becoming census taker, please have them apply. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Any questions for Andrew? All right. We're going to move on to the chair's report. I didn't introduce myself earlier. As somebody pointed out to me, I'm Carter Booth. I'm the chair of the board. Since we're live streaming them, we should all identify ourselves. So tonight's a milestone. I think it might be the first meeting that we've actually live streamed from beginning to end. Different parts of our meetings in the past have been live streamed, but this might be the first one. Wanted to thank Bob for making that happen. And going forward, the meetings will be archived on our YouTube channel, and the live stream's available on Facebook. So that's a step forward in that regard. Charlie brought up the new bill that was sponsored by Senator Brad Hoylman and Assembly Member Deborah Glick with regards to putting New York State Liquor Authority stipulation information online. Just want to remind everybody who's been around for a while, Brad has been asking for that for at least 13 years, and he finally was able to move into a position to actually get that done. The information, as Charlie alluded to, is still a little bit difficult to get to. I've been in direct contact with the Liquor Authority about maybe putting it in their public query system so it's easy to get to, and also Beta NYC is interested in making that information maybe more available. We'll see who gets that done first, and Bob can share it with you, or we can share it in one of our mailings. Our Land Use Committee is continuing to discuss the Envision Soho NoHo report as part of the process of responding to the plan sponsors. As Borough President had noted, the report is not a rezoning document, but rather a summary of what was learned during the public engagement that took place over the first 6 months of 2019, as well as recommendations to address the concerns that were raised. We had 2 committee meetings this month with business sessions only to review our role in land use matters in Soho NoHo over the last few decades and discuss that role and how it relates to the report. Having business sessions only meetings is unusual for us, but this followed 2 big public meetings in January where we had almost 90 speakers. Specifically, this month we discussed the number of various special permits and some of the data relevant to informing future studies that the report recommends. We're going to continue reviewing this next month, and they're in the process of advising the plan sponsors that we intend to continue reviewing the report in order to provide a comprehensive response. For CB2 board members, as I've mentioned before, we're in the process of working with Group Forward on hosting a tailored board training for CB2 leadership, committee chairs and vice chairs, and interested board members. Hannah Dubin has been and will be going to a few committee meetings and will be conducting a training seminar for us next month in March. It's going to be conducted during what's normally our scheduled executive committee meeting. That's March 17th. It's a yet to be determined location. Bob will email directly to the board members. I reported last month that CB2 was pleased that Governor Cuomo had vetoed the legislation which would have allowed currently non-permitted commercial development on Pier 40. I also reported that we were looking forward to restarting that conversation. In the interim, Hudson River Park Trust has put together a task force to begin those discussions. The task force is comprised of representatives from CB2, all the elected officials whose districts cover the park, trust board members, and CB1, CB4, Hudson River Park Advisory Council, and the Hudson River Park Friends. The CB2 reps in the task force are myself, Rich Cacapolo, Dan Miller, and Katie Bordenaro. Part of the mission is to envision the completion of the park and address ideas for Pier 40 and 76 and discuss funding for the park. We're still in the early phase, but we've been very articulate in our positions. I think over the many years that we've been working on this, and we're hoping that any new ideas fully take into account our existing positions, or that there's a process that allows us to re-engage the community and with any specific issues that they might raise with us. On March 9th, CB2 is going to be co-hosting a forum at 6:30 p.m. on dyslexia legislation, how we can change the system at the Clinton School at 10 East 15th Street. I believe there are flyers outside. The panel will address legislation related to the formation of a statewide dyslexia task force, screening, instruction, and teacher training. I want to thank especially our Schools and Education Committee for a great meeting this month. They held the forum on February 6th, which was also on dyslexia and other learning disabilities, and it was a big success. I was there at the beginning of the meeting. It was a very big turnout. It was co-hosted by our downtown elected officials, CEC District 2 Students with Disabilities Committee, and CB 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and CEC District 1. Video is available on our Facebook page. And as of today, Janine had let me know that over 2,500 people had seen that, so it's a pretty significant number of people. There should be additional information on our website in the coming days, including the presentation materials from that, parent resources, and frequently asked questions on the Bleecker Street School. And finally, congratulations to Donna Raftery, who is the new chair of the SLA1 committee. Thank you, Cormac, for your service. And District Manager's report.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bob Gormley. I'm the district manager, and I want to thank Carter for thanking me for arranging for the live streaming. But I got to tell you, all I did was make 2 phone calls. One was to Community Board 10 in Brooklyn. I knew they were live streaming, and the district manager out there, who I've known for a while, sung the praises of Mr. Mark Moss, who's in the back, doing the streaming for us. And so that was the second phone call. And so it's really all Mr. Moss, and hopefully this will be something that we can do for all our full board meetings and some occasional other meetings going forward. I was out of the room. I walked in when Anthony was giving his report for Councilmember Chin, so what I'm about to say may or may not be responsive, but regarding the distribution of those bags, I'm sorry. Councilmember Chin did give them out in our district. She was at the senior center run by Greenwich House on Washington Square North and gave them out about 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if that was mentioned or not. And also, since Jane is still here, I was fortunate enough to be at the opening of the Mexican mural exhibit at the Whitney last night, and it's really spectacular. It's got some great murals and large paintings by Diego Rivera and Orozco, and some small Jackson Pollock paintings that nothing like the drip paintings. These are things he did in the 1930s, and I only recognize one of 6 or 7 paintings. Anyway, enough about that. A couple of public service announcements. They just started this week. There's water main installation work that's being done in the Bamra area, specifically on West 3rd Street and on McDougal, from McDougal to LaGuardia, between West 3rd and Washington Square South. Each block is supposed to take about a week, and there will be water shutdowns, so there will be some inconveniences. There is a project liaison who so far has been pretty good about reaching out to us and to the businesses. But when we get their notices, we will put them on the website so folks will know what's happening and when the water shutdowns are coming. I just got a notice this afternoon from the MTA that the northbound entrance at Canal Street for the R and the N train at Canal and just north of, on Broadway, just north of Canal, is going to be shut starting probably shortly after February 27th. They are going to be doing some resiliency work by putting in, not gates, but kind of like, I think they call them flood logs to kind of block the entrance in the event of another storm. So they expect that that entrance will be closed for at least 3 weeks. Up to 3 weeks. And if we get more information about that, we'll share it with you. And lastly, I just want to mention something that caught my attention at my district service cabinet meeting a couple of weeks ago. The report from the 6th precinct. There's been a spike in crime in the 6th. It's gone up 39% from January 1st to February 16th this year versus last year. Most of the crimes during the daytime are thefts of packages that are dropped off and left in hallways and vestibules, so you might want to be aware of that. In the evening, at night, there's been a rash of burglaries in bars and restaurants. So the way the 6th precinct is addressing it, All their NCO officers are temporarily reassigned to the midnight shift, and they're also adding an additional 13 officers to the midnight shift until they get a handle on this uptick. And that's my report. Oh, questions? Good point. Lois. Well, one thing I'll add to that, there was a conference call in advance of this, and one question they were not able to answer is when they, for instance, when they get on West 3rd Street and they shut the water off, they won't know until they get in there whether they're going to need to shut the water off for any of the businesses south of West 3rd Street, which would be a much bigger deal because since NYU has a big part of that footprint, there aren't as many stores. I think they said 14 stores or restaurants are being impacted. But if you go south of West 3rd, that number could easily, I guess, triple or so.
Any other questions for Bob? Okay. One thing I forgot to mention is we're going to try during our business session to use the microphones and among board members because then it can be recorded for posterity on live streaming, but also so other board members can hear what the dialogue is. It's not always here, so bear with us as we go into that.
We've already got a report that 9 people were watching our meeting about a half an hour ago. Up to 11. However, because there are no microphones among the board members, there's no sound. They couldn't hear. That's why I was kind of walking around sporadically trying to get people microphones. So that's it.
Okay. Thanks. So now we're going to move on to the business session. Motion to approve the January minutes, which were distributed to the board members by email.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? We should be doing this as a roll call vote?
No.
No? We're going to wait? Okay. All right. Now we're going to move on to what we had discussed last month, which is a special election for Assistant Secretary. We have, I guess I'm running this portion, correct? Right. So we had distributed, we hadn't expected there to be as much interest as there is. We've received 3 nominations, self-nominations, since our last full board meeting, and there's now an opportunity to nominate yourself or somebody else as well. So I'm going to open up the floor to additional nominations. This is for the position of Assistant Secretary to complete the existing term that was vacated by Ryder Kessler, who went to work in Maine on this year's election cycle, and the term is through the end of November of this year. The floor is now open for nominations. Anybody else like to nominate somebody else or themselves? Going once, twice, all right. Nominations are now closed. I can't see the board, and I didn't notice it on the way in. Are their names written on? Yes, okay, great. So we have the three names that are people who've self-nominated are Amy Brenna, Matt Metzger, and Brian Pape. That's also the alphabetical order, and the process that we had discussed last month is that each candidate would have 2 minutes to make a statement, and after that time, we're going to distribute the ballots. Bob's going to distribute the ballots afterwards. Because the nominations were open tonight, we didn't pre-print the ballots with everybody's names, so everybody's going to have to write in the name of the candidate, and it needs to be spelled correctly, as indicated on the board. And everybody will need to sign their ballot and print their name. If you do not sign and print your name, the ballot is not valid. Without ado, we'll move on to the statements. Does anybody have any questions on how this? Is anything unclear? Okay. One, the bylaws on elections indicate that in order for somebody to prevail, they need to receive a majority of the votes. And if that is not the case, we will have a second ballot will be distributed with the top 2 vote getters. And that, no. Our bylaws state that we have to vote by open written ballot.
I know.
Shirley, you had a question?
I think this really speaks to, and we've talked about it a lot, looking seriously again at our bylaws.
Right, we're going to be doing that. Okay, so Amy, would you like to?
I need one too. Whoops. Sorry, I'm very short, so let me fix this. Okay, can you hear me?
And if you can.
Yes.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to ask for your vote tonight. I've been extraordinarily fortunate to work at community-based nonprofits in CB2 and CB3 as head of marketing communications. I also live in CB2. Our neighbors in CB2 and 3 represent the diversity that makes our city strong. And they have generously welcomed me into their lives as we've organized, advocated, celebrated, and picked ourselves up when things didn't go our way. They showed me how strong communities are when everyone who lives in our neighborhoods and those who want to move to our community work together to make decisions about and fight for our community together. They inspired me to try repeatedly to join CB2 until I was appointed 2 years ago. If you do me the honor of voting for me as Assistant Secretary, I will gladly and faithfully fulfill the responsibilities of that position. And I hope you'll give me the chance to work with you and use my professional experience and skills in marketing and communications to broaden CB2's constituency. If you ask how, by opening new or improved online and social media channels of communication to our fellow New Yorkers so that everyone's voice can be heard and everyone can work with us as one community together. Thank you. I also have copies of my statement. If anybody didn't get a chance to read it, if anyone would like one, let me know. And oh, I thought I had extra time for questions, but I don't.
I was going to say, I forgot to mention that Bob had distributed statements from each candidate as well via email a little bit after 4 p.m. tonight, which is what Amy had been
Does anybody need a
alluding to.
copy? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Next on the list is Matt Metzger.
So I wrote a very long statement, and I'm very sorry, and I will not rehash it, except for 2 points. My butchering of names is in the highest tradition of CB2, and I will live up to that. Thank you, Keen. And two, it's listed in the statement, but I really do think that there are ways that we can make the board's office, and the board's interaction with the public more efficient and better. I think today is a perfect example. Live streaming is something I would have thought was very hard. It ends up, it's pretty easy. There are good solutions to a number of the problems that we're facing. I think that the Assistant Secretary is a great job in order to tackle it. Somebody has to take charge and manage that process, not because it's hard, but just because if nobody does it, nobody does it. I think the Assistant Secretary is a perfect position to do it, and I think some of my background really aligns well. I have a minute left, and I'll give it away. Yeah.
We don't really have we didn't set it up as a question and answer.
He has a copy of his statement.
Okay.
I did not get that email.
Cormac, I will forward it to you as we speak.
Other people didn't get it either. Apparently.
Okay. Hold on and okay.
I got it. I got it.
I'll be honest, I just assumed I didn't get it because they didn't want me to see other people's, but I didn't get it either.
Okay, that's,
Very-
You really need a new assistant secretary.
okay, and in the Wi-Fi for anybody who is the Scholastic Guest, I think it's SCH Guest, and the sign-in is book and the password is book. Excuse me, lowercase. If I can email the statement to people if they didn't get it. Is there people, Cormac, you were one? Okay, Shirley. I don't have everybody's email. Okay.
I did receive it.
This is how they're telling
Okay, we're going to move on to Brian, and let me see if I can.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Pape. I'm an architect and a journalist, and I really appreciate this opportunity to serve the board and the community with the position of Assistant Secretary. I've done a lot of work in the community in various ways. I live here, I work here, my business is here, and just as you all are dedicating your time on a voluntary basis, like the rest of the board members, it's because we love our community and we are passionate about that, and any way that I can help or serve the community and the community board, I'm willing to do that. I'm happy to do that. I'm very honored to have been appointed to the board, and I just want to continue to do whatever I can. So for years before I joined the board, I came to a lot of meetings because there's so much going on in our neighborhood. And I would come to the meetings for various important issues, and then I would find out a whole ton of other things that were going on that I didn't know about. So this is really the place to go. It's a great resource for the community. I find that in my circle of friends or where I live, everybody knows about the community board, and when they watch the meetings and watch the topics, because this is the place to go. So just thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Brian. I'd like to distribute the statements because I think that that's something. Can I have a show of hands of who would like to receive that email? And I'm going to just, all right. I'm going to. Yeah, I've Okay, sure. And you got the email, right? So great. You set it out. That's perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to move on with the first committee reports, and then we'll come back to this after people have had a chance. And Ritu, if you could just let me know when that was distributed. And yes. Bob sent it out today at 4:10 or 4:11. And apparently it was not received by everybody for whatever reason. Just want to make sure because that people have an opportunity to review the statements in addition to the written, the spoken comments. So we're going to move on for the moment and go to the standing committee reports. And our first report is Arts and Institutions. Robin?
Good evening. My name is Robin Rothstein. I am the chair of CB2's Arts and Institutions Committee. Before I get into my resolution, I just want to quickly give a shout out to the chair of the Social Services Committee, Susanna Aaron, who invited my committee to her committee night so we could discuss libraries, and I encourage you to read her very comprehensive report. It's filled with fantastic information. Now on to my resolution. This is a resolution regarding CB2 Manhattan support for the New York Studio School's pursuit of a grant from the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Fund to restore a portion of the school's historic Whitney studio space. Therefore, be it resolved that Community Board 2 Manhattan strongly supports New York Studio School's request and urges the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Fund to provide the school with the maximum funding they are seeking. And the vote was unanimous. Questions?
Susanna. Yes, thank you for reminding us.
And this will be a roll.
Hi, Robin, thanks. My question is, this is a resolution in support to a private foundation. Is that common in your committee? Because normally we're doing this for public agencies, and this is for a private organization.
I can't say that's common. I'm trying to remember of any, this has happened before. I feel like it might have happened once before, but I can't remember what. But this is going, they wanted to have this as part of their grant application. So it could have been in letter form, I guess, but it just came out as a resolution. So we would have voted on this anyway as a letter of support.
Thank you.
If I remember, in the past, we've supported some theaters and some other similar types of groups, so. In the Whitney.
Yeah, in fact, the Worcester was trying to get in our meeting, but it was too late to actually include a letter of support for them for what they were applying for.
Michael.
And in the city budget process, we have frequently supported requests for city funding for not-for-profit organizations, particularly theater groups. So we do have a track record of supporting private applications for a variety of funding. So I think this one is appropriate.
Any other comments or questions? That was Michael Levine speaking. Ed.
So I think Ed Mai, I don't want to make sure I'm capturing this correctly, asked if the funding that this institution specifically was seeking was going to provide a benefit to the community. Does the community attend this institution? And especially, I'm sorry, what? The character, oh, yes, absolutely. This building is a historic landmark in our community. It's locally beloved. I mean, there are a lot of tourists and international visitors there, but they are very much rooted in the community. And if you look through my whereases and a report I wrote a couple of months ago, it talks all about how they are encouraging the community. They are embracing us. You can go there anytime. They give free tours. So it's a very much a village institution.
Are there any other questions or comments? Is there any unwillingness to vote? This may be a roll call vote. Valerie.
Thank you.
And just before you start quickly, Ritu sent out the email. Again, Scholastic, everyone except Kristen Shea. I will forward it to Kristen. So again, if you need to log in, the Wi-Fi is SCH guest, and the login is book lowercase, and the password is book lowercase. Excuse me for interrupting.
No worries. Susanna Aaron. Keen Berger. Carter Booth.
Aye.
Katie Bordenaro. Aye. Anita Brandt. Aye. Amy Brenna. Aye. Rich Cacapolo. Yes. Ritu Chaudhry. Yes. Tom Connor. Yes. Coral Dawson. Valerie De La Rosa, yes. Doris Diether. Yes. Bob Ely. Yes. Mar Fitzgerald. Yes. Cormac Flynn. Heck yes. Joseph Gallagher. Yes. David Gruber. Wayne Kawadler. Yes. Susan Kent.
Yes.
Janine Kiley. Yes. Patricia Larea. Yes. Michael Levine. Yes. Janet Liff. Yes. Ed Ma.
Yes.
Maud Marin. Matt Metzger.
Yes.
Daniel Miller.
Aye.
Brian Pape.
Aye.
Donna Raftery.
Aye.
Lois Rakoff.
Yes.
Bo Riccobono.
Yes.
Robin Rothstein.
Yes.
Sandy Russo.
Yes.
Rocio Sans.
Yes.
Scott Sartiano? Shirley Secunda? Kristen Shea? Frederica Siegel? Georgia Silvera Siemens? Dr. Shirley Smith? Chenault Spence? Susan Wittenberg? Anthony Wong? Adam Zeldin? Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Moving on to the next report, landmarks. Chenault?
I have one hard copy of the statements if anybody wants to read it, and if they don't have the computers.
Chenault Spence, Chair of the Landmarks Committee, and Landmarks and Public Aesthetics Committee. We've 6 resolutions and 2 are not unanimous, the rest are. Number 1, 6 Green Street, to establish a master plan for painted sign. The resolution to approve the application provided that the height of the sign space be reduced in order to provide a uniform margin along the front and bottom of the proposed sign, and that the master plan otherwise conforms to landmarks regulations governing painted signs for the area. Unanimous. 16 Leroy Street, application to restore the front facade and to reconfigure an existing rear extension with a new terrace, install skylights and solar panel on the roof, and install exterior lighting. Recommend that the front facade restoration be approved, provided that LPC review the paint colors and the lighting fixture to ensure that they are suitable to the building, and approval of the demolition of the existing extension and the size of the proposed extension, and denial of the facade of the extension with respect to the ground floor pilasters, parlor floor windows, and the expanse of unrelieved brick above the parlor windows, and denial of the solar panels as currently proposed, with the recommendation that they be located where they are not visible from a public thoroughfare, and or that the applicant research and propose alternative panels that designed to be in harmony with the historic building and the area. Number 3, 196 6th Avenue Penthouse, application to renovate a visible greenhouse structure on the southeastern facade and replace and update the greenhouse windows and to construct a pergola. Recommend that the modifications to the greenhouse structure be approved and that the pergola be denied, and that the applicant return to the board with more detailed drawings and or renderings of the structure in order that it may make a recommendation to the commission. 7 in favor, 1 opposed. 6163 Crosby Street, application to install new cast iron drip-strewn molding above each of the 18 street-facing windows on floors 2 through floor. Resolved that recommend the approval of the application, unanimous. 40 Crosby Street, 478 Broadway. Application to modify the storefront infill, replace the windows, restore cast iron surround and the metal shutters. Recommend approval of the application for the infill and the cast iron restoration, and that approval be conditional on the compliance of all governing agencies, including zoning resolutions and Department of Building regulations affecting this work. In number 6, Valerie and others, on the second line, the word porch should be changed to the word deck, and it's the 4th floor rather than the 1st floor. Application to demolish the existing building's rear wall, construct a 3.5-story rear extension, construct a rear deck and the 4th floor, and alter the rear yard's extension grade, and remove the rooftop HVAC equipment and metal chimney.
Are you saying, I got all of that except for, is the word existing changing to extension, or is that staying as existing? I just heard extension.
No, the only changes are porch to deck and 1 to 4.
Thank you.
The proposed, recommend denial of the demolition of the entire of the extant rear facade. Denial of the bulk extension with the odd features and windows that are non-historic and placement that are not respectful to the design of the building and the area, and approval of the garden excavation. 7 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you. So we had items 1 through 6. Does anybody want to call out any of the items 1 through 6 or have any clarification questions? Susanna? Would you like to call them out? There are only 6, so.
Somebody's in the wrong place.
3 and 6. Okay, so is there any unwillingness to vote on items 1, 2, 4, and 5? Seeing no unwillingness to vote, all those in favor of items 1, 2, 4, and 5?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? All right, items 1, 2, 4, and 5 pass. We're now moving on to discuss item number...
Is she going to get the mic so we can...
Item number 3, Bob is bringing the microphone. Susanna? Item number 3 is 196 6th Avenue Penthouse.
I'm sorry, for both of these, I just had a question since it wasn't a unanimous vote. I wanted to ask Brian Pape why he voted against them, what his opposition was. Is Brian here?
He's behind you.
Thank you. All right, so it's a little misleading about the vote because of just the way it's written. So on this one, the only difference in the voting was on the pergola. And that was, yes, and that was because I felt that the drawings showed it, defined it, and was clear enough for me to accept it as presented. Otherwise, we would have been unanimous. So that was the question, number 3?
And the other one was item number 6 was the same
demolition of
question,
the back
which was
wall and extension.
71 Jane Street. Demolish existing buildings rear
okay.
wall.
So the back facade is not visible from any public right-of-way, and the scale or scope of the addition was, to me, I was convinced that it was the scale of the size of the protrusion, everything really matched with all of the other additions on the backs of the other homes on that block. And we all felt that the style and type and arrangement of windows and doors combination of that addition, so they were all new, did not fit. So we agreed that the windows and doors were not appropriate for that inner courtyard area with all the other buildings that were back there. So that was the difference there, and that's the only reason I voted against. Well, the vote was taken to deny any addition at all. And I thought an addition was appropriate, but the style, the arrangement of the windows and doors was not.
May I explain?
Yes, Chanel.
With respect to the 6th Avenue application, the pergola is something that didn't exist. And when something doesn't exist, we require more detail than was provided. The greenhouse is, to the naked eye, going to be exactly the same. It's slight modification in the width of the mullions to do with insulated glass, which is in order that it doesn't lose heat and so forth. With respect to the brownstone, any row house, we're concerned with the integrity of the building, which has to do with the non-visible rear facades as well. In this case, the rear facade is completely intact. And so we always separate demolition from that which replaces that which was demolished. In that case, it was felt that too much of the back was to be demolished, and what replaced it could have been smaller. In general, our guidelines are to approve an extension and resulting demolition to the English basement and the parlor floor, and a taller building, perhaps one floor more, but not more than that, so that we keep not only the sense, but the fact of the historic rear facade, and then something below it.
We're mixing two different items here, so let's just stick with item number 3. If there are any other comments on item number 3, which is the 196 6th Avenue. Is there any unwillingness to vote on item number 3? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Item number 3 carries. And now moving on to item number 6, which is 71 Jane Street. Does anybody want to discuss that further? Any unwillingness to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusal? Abstain. 1 abstain. Liff on item number 6.
Yep.
Thanks. Has everybody had a chance to review, who wanted to, the written statements that were emailed? Okay, so we can move forward with completing the ballots. Everybody can complete the ballots and Bob will be collecting them. And is Andrew volunteering to help you count? Bob? That was everybody, right? Bob, are you going to do both? You can do SLA 1 and 2. Okay. We're going to move on to the next standing committee reports. We're going to have SLA Licensing 1. Bob is going to be presenting the resolutions. Donna will begin next month. Do we have all the ballots? Does everybody have a ballot? If you still have one, can you just raise your hand so Bob can pick it up from you? Lois. All right, Andrew's got Lois's. All right. Whenever you're ready, Bob.
Okay, everybody. SLA 1, we had 13 resolutions altogether. Out of the 13, the first 8 were actually ones where we voted on in terms of hearing the applications, and the others are layovers or withdrawals and such. So I'll start with 1 through 8. Number 1 is 1 Tiger, 1 Howard Street. This is a new on-premise liquor license at 1 Howard Street. The resolution was a deny and less with the stipulations. It was a split vote, 5-2. Number 2 is 54 East Entertainment, DBA Karaoke Boho. This is an alteration to an existing license that exists, that is really a karaoke, and the idea was to remove some karaoke rooms and expand the restaurant. Number 3 is connected to number 2, Electo 13 Corp., 54 East 13th Street. After the alteration is done, they're then going to transfer the license to a new owner. Again, deny unless with stipulations. The vote on both of those, 2 and 3, were unanimous. Number 4 is 151 Bleecker, Red Lion. This was also another alteration to an existing on-premise license for a bar tavern. There were a deny unless resolution, unanimous with stipulations. Number 5 is Mary Mackin, DBA Wyan, 20 Spring Street. This is a existing on-premise license, an alteration to add an extra hour. Again, deny unless with resolution with stipulations, unanimous vote. Number 6 is Okini Village Hibachi. This is at 216 Thompson Street. This is a new on-premise liquor license. The resolution was to deny, or the recommendation was to deny the on-premise license at this location. Unanimous vote 7-0. Number 7, Andreas WV LLC, DBA Da Andrea, 35 West 13th Street. This is also a new on-premise liquor license. Deny unless resolution, and unanimous vote. Let's see, number 8 is the James Hotel at 2327 Grand Street. This is an alteration, change in method of operation for an existing hotel. Rather complicated resolution, but they wanted to expand many different aspects of their indoor and outdoor facilities, and the resolution was to deny, or recommendation was to deny those particular alterations and changes. The rest, again, 9 through 12 are layovers, 9 through 13 layovers or withdrawals and such.
Anybody like to call out any of the items? Yes, Anthony.
Friendly amendment for 1?
Yes. And would anybody like to call out any other items, number 2 through 13? Item 1's been called out, so we're going to vote on items 2 through 13. Katie? She's saying it's a heck of a resolution.
Thank you.
Number 8. It was a comment. So we're calling out number 1, and we're voting now on items 2 through 13. Does anybody want to call out any of those items? Rich, yes.
I think we should discuss or call out number 6.
Okay, so items 1 and 6 we're calling out. Anybody like to call out any other items? Everybody sure? Okay, so we're going to vote on items 2 through 5 and 7 through 13. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? All right, items 2 through 5 and 7 through 13 pass. And now we're going to move on to discuss item number 1.
Just a friendly amendment for whereas number 7, and also the 6th stipulation in whereas number 10, just to include that the applicant needs to take in the tables and chairs for the Sidewalk Cafe when it closes. It's not included in the minutes presented tonight.
So the number 6, you're talking about number 6 on the stipulations?
Yeah. And also in the paragraph, whereas number 7, it mentions the same thing, that's all. Yeah.
All right, I'll accept that friendly.
And
that's in pretty much everyone.
And I'm noticing that this is actually the draft minutes, and this is not the completed minutes. And there was another change in item number 1, which had more discussion with respect to the 200-foot rule and explanation of the measuring with the Buddhist temple, which is located on Center Street, which basically, we can put it back, but I'll just describe it quickly because this came from historically from the last applicant here. There's a Buddhist temple that's within 200 feet of the corner of the establishment, and the doorway that is used is more than 200 feet, so it doesn't apply, but it was clarification as to, in this specific.
So it was amendment changes to number 3 to make it.
Right, and then the therefore be it resolved is contingent on it also adhering to the 200-foot rule.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what happened there, but between it going to Bob and Bob sending it to the full board, something happened.
Does anybody have any objections to including that? I've done that before. Okay.
It's all Bob's fault.
Yeah. Well, He's counting the ballots at the moment, so he's not here. All right, is there any unwillingness to vote on item number 1 with the friendly amendments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposed?
On number 1, right?
Number 1.
Yes, on number 1. Any abstentions? Recusals? Okay, the motion carries. And now moving on to item number 6, which I may not be pronouncing this right, but I think it's Okini Village Hibachi Corp. at 216 Thompson Street. Rich?
This may be a silly question, but hopefully other people have it as well. They do serve sake today?
Yes, they do.
And sake falls under the wine, it's considered a wine.
It is.
It's fermented, not distilled.
Did anybody else wonder about
And that's just,
It's fermented, not
Yes.
distilled, that's what.
Chenault?
Is this the one that John spoke about?
Yes.
How many of the 81 signatures were local? Do you know that?
I don't recall that specifically, Chenault. I really don't. In terms of, no, I don't have a recollection of that. I had, yeah.
We've had instances that every signature was spoken.
Yeah, it's not just that. Yeah, no, it's hard. These particular petitions are very difficult to digest because of the people that actually signed them are not there. And also, they're just difficult in general because we don't really know what's going on when people sign those things and whether they really mean what they're doing or mean what they're saying. And it's hard for the people who are applying as well because there's really nothing, to get people to come and support is difficult. And so the next thing that they do is get petitions. So, that kind of goes both ways. But generally speaking, a lot of times the signatures are difficult to dissect. And we generally do look over the petitions every time they're given to us. It's just, in this case, I don't have a recollection of what was actually in that particular.
I'm going to call on Lois because she may. Thank you.
I only bring this up because in the case of the Motion Picture Theater, the applicant put a great deal of emphasis on these massive number of signatures, and they turned out to be primarily people in the business who had nothing to do with the neighborhood.
It's part of the matrix of, there's other information that's in the reso as well. I saw some other hands. Cormac, you had?
I just wanted to clarify, make sure I understand correctly, Bob, if I settle some of this question on petition. As I read the resolution, though, also there were people from the committee who appeared, who came and expressed their opinion that way or through letters, as well as petitions. And so the committee heard from a number of people in committee and gave full consideration to all kinds of input, right?
Yes, that is correct. We did get a number of emails, but the reality here is that, I'm sorry?
I don't say they weren't against Lois.
No, we're not saying that they weren't or weren't.
The point is, you heard community input, and you considered it beyond the petition.
You're answering the question yourself, but yes, there was opposition to it. There was opposition at this location in the past, and the gentleman had, because of that opposition, he had agreed not to upgrade the license, which I think had a significance. I think I would point out to everybody, if you just look at the resolutions 6 and 7, they're very similar applications. They're upgrades to a location that's never had a license before, except the difference is that 7 is in a very different location than 6. 6, if you look at all the liquor licenses that exist in that area, there's 72. And so I think those are the factors that we're looking at. If you look at the other one on West 13th Street, again, never been licensed before, number 7. And, people came out and supported it. There wasn't, there's not a lot on that particular block. It was a beer and wine that turned into an on-premise. It made sense. So, those are the distinguishing factors. I think that's the best way to kind of look at this, is to go compare 6 versus 7.
Is there any, Rosia?
Business is really bad enough for restaurants in our neighborhood. If you walk around, you see many empty storefronts, and you wonder why. Well, don't wonder too much. Here is a businessman who wants to improve his business and perhaps prevent it from being an empty storefront. I would like to vote in favor of this application for his liquor license. So I will vote against this resolution because we need businesses to stay around. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Georgia?
It's the same business owner.
No, it's the manager.
Okay, but
It's the manager. I'm just clarifying that because it's the manager who's buying the business from the previous owner.
Right, but the previous owner is still holding on to 50% of the business.
It's 100%.
Well, the guy that was in front of us was the guy who signed the stipulation a few years ago. So I don't want to go back and forth over the facts, but your question was, it was, yeah, in this area, in this area we have BAMRA, which generally they were against it. He didn't go to them in the first place. In the past, he had gone to them and they were against it. And I think, so in terms of community, that is generally what most of the businesses in that area will do. They'll go to BAMRA. They're very friendly to business. And in this case, that did not occur. Yeah.
Is there any other? Joe? Lois?
Knowing the V-Bar, liking the V-Bar, the condition was also to put in a kitchen and to have food. And so that was a problem for the V-Bar because he wanted and we're not talking about the V-Bar right now, but since you brought it up, there was a condition that he was to have food and not little light tea or like popcorn. And he also, it was a requirement.
I saw, Susanna?
Well, I was going to ask a question, but I mean, it's just a question for thought, which is, do we have a clear understanding, the data on the impact of a liquor license to the community for an establishment that has a functioning restaurant? I mean, I understand limiting liquor licenses for many reasons, and noise on the street, and, bad operators, and I live next to a lot of bars, but it does raise a question for me about what data we have on the actual impact. But it's a restaurant, clearly a restaurant, and it's just one,
Katie?
In answer to Susanna's question, I think that one of the data points we do have is the 311 complaints. The liquor committee sometimes has a tabulation of how many noise complaints this particular establishment has had, and those are presented to us and form part of our opinion as well. It's not for everyone, but particularly in a case like the Bar B, that's something that we would be looking for. And we would
Yeah, you know what? These are difficult decisions, no question about it. Yeah, everything's done on a case-by-case basis. It's like nothing is the same as the next one, so.
Two items, and first, forgive me if this is too detailed, and you don't have this information available, but you cite 78 existing on-prem liquor licenses and 4 beer and wine licenses on that block. Just, I mean, finger to the wind, how many beer and wine licenses in that 750-foot radius? I'm just trying to understand.
I didn't take the time to count them all. Yeah. What it populates is on-premise licenses. You can do this on the website at the New York State Liquor Authority. It populates on-premise licenses. It also does indicate beer and wine, but it doesn't actually say it for you. In other words, it doesn't give it to you, but you can look on the map, and I did see the 4 on that block. And so I guess the concern was that every beer and wine license will turn into an on-premise license. You know, that's a concern, and I'm saying that's the end all. But that is a concern.
Do you have like a rough sense of the ratio in that, beer and wine license to on-premises license?
I have no way of, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot, but I don't know.
And then the second thing was the comment, just sounds like, there's a few questions about different statistics about each of these applications. Maybe it's worth considering like a scorecard that could be, part of the header for any of these resolutions, just key metrics, facts and figures, how far to the nearest school, how far to the nearest place of worship, how many, all these metrics that you guys have available. It could be helpful to see them just like in a uniform format.
Yeah, I would say that it's difficult enough to do what we're doing already. But one thing that we have been doing is writing more in our resolutions to try to explain things as best as we can, to create a record as much as possible. And so those kind of metrics would be very difficult to try to figure out. It's hard enough to do all the things that I do as it is. But I agree with you. It would be nice to have some metrics like that. I agree. Okay. Yeah, but it would also be nice to have statistics at the office of how many liquor licenses we have. It's been brought up before, so.
Yeah. Janet.
Just, you mentioned they didn't go, microphone, that they didn't go to BAMRA. Was that just an oversight, or was that intentional? And did BAMRA come and say, we don't want these people to have a liquor license?
BAMRA sent an email. There was a problem with BAMRA before, and they did not go back to BAMRA. So I don't think we went into the insight as what people's intents were at the time, but that was an aspect of what happened.
And then to Scott.
Yeah, just reading through it. So they're not asking for a change in time. They're effectively asking to serve liquor instead of just beer and wine. Were there, they've been open for a few years. Were there problems with the neighborhood? Or
They have not. This is a new application.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not in the same.
It's a new application for a new entity.
But in the same premises?
Same location, yes.
Right, so it's a place that's already been there, but you said that they've been operating for the past few years, the same person.
Well, we have a
was the
little difference of
manager.
opinion, but whether it's the same guy or a different guy, or a portion of this of the same group that was there before, I think that's what we're.
Yeah, the person who's here signed on as the manager of the previous business. He was identified in the stipulations as the manager, but he was not the owner. And this is an application of a new entity to purchase the previous business by the manager.
So I guess, were there issues in the past few years why we wouldn't say, hey, we're willing to upgrade, you did a good job, or we're not willing to because you were a bad person or neighbor or operator? Or are we just saying only beer and wine, liquor is going to make you a problem?
No, we're not saying that. I think what we're saying is in the resolution that it doesn't meet the public interest to add another liquor license at this particular location with this method of operation in this particular area.
Lois? Lois, can you use the microphone, please?
Of course. Hi, Lois Rakoff. The area is oversaturated, but I would like to mention that the title, it said that hibachi, and the hook was that they wanted to have a full liquor license because of the hibachi, which they don't have hibachi. And they've had the sign out there for maybe 10 years that they serve hibachi, but they don't. And perhaps in the future, when they install the hibachi tables, which might be a lot of fun in the neighborhood, then maybe they could come and we would revisit the full OP. But that was what the representative had indicated, that they needed the OP, the full OP, because of the hibachi. But there's no hibachi. So it would be, that's what I'm trying to say, that was a hook. And we can revisit it another time.
Is there any other additional comments?
Yes.
Okay, Ed.
I'm not sure, in Chinatown, there's BID. They constantly mention something small business, loans and training program going on. And I wonder whether this CB2 area was to take advantage of the available federal resources.
That's up to the applicants and whether they work with small business services.
Yes. Another thing, I don't know whether Lucille just mentioned about the community, because the Chinatown, recently because of the virus situation, the Chinatown also affected by the situation. I think when I like to introduce another subject about when 2-3 years ago, I myself introduced CB2 should join CB1 and CB3 to make protest against the jail, expansion jail. I mean, the CB2, wasn't interested. So I wonder, whether there's some kind of, because I myself always like to exemplify the CB2, the best, democratic community, because Chinatown, I want Chinatown to really imitate, to learn from CB2. But unfortunately, there's not much going on between, Chinatown and...
Ed, I just want to interrupt you. During a business session, we speak to the agenda items that are in front of us, that are on the floor, and right now we're talking about the liquor license at 216 Thompson Street.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay.
Correct. Thank you, Shirley. Yes. Is there any other discussion on this item? Is there any unwillingness to vote? Okay. Valerie, are you ready?
Yeah, I had a feeling this was going to be a roll call.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Metzger? Laria?
Yep.
Sands? Silvera Siemens? Zeldin? Ray Kowadler? Joe Gallagher? Sargiano? Sandy Russo? And Chanel Spence. And just read out those names. Oh, Doris Diether. And just read out the names to see. I think I got them.
I think we got everyone.
Okay, read them out so we...
All right. I did not get Tom.
Valerie's going to read out the names in just a second. Let us know if you did not hear your name and you voted against.
Matt Metzger, I for no. Patricia Larea, Rocio Sands, Georgia Silvera Siemens, Adam Zeldin, Wayne Kowadler, Joseph Gallagher, Scott Sarciano, Sandy Russo, Chenault Spence, Doris Diether, Tom Connor, and myself.
Is that everybody? Shirley, you voting against?
What,
Against the item?
Oh, no.
So we got everybody? All right. So and the motion passes? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. I think that was...
13 noes.
We ready with SLA 2?
We're actually going to stop for a moment. Bob informed me that he has the results, but I don't know what they are, so he's going to read them out. Of the election.
None of the candidates received the majority, so we're going to have to take a second vote. Amy Brenner received 19 votes, Matt Metzger received 15, and Brian Pape received 7. So the runoff will be between Amy and Matt.
Okay, and Bob is going to distribute, fortunately, we have a second round of ballots, and potentially anticipating this. He's going to pass them out, and if people can follow the same instructions, write either Amy's name or Matt Metzger's name, and sign, print your name. Same scenario. Does anybody have any questions, comments on this? Okay. While you're doing that, everybody, why don't we just take a minute and finish this? It's a little too disruptive to hear the reports. Yes, Keen had asked me prior to the meeting if she was able to comment on the election, and I had said no, but she is right that it's really great that we have 3 candidates who are running and who are interested in the position, and I'm glad to see that. I hope that continues going forward. Does everybody have a ballot? Okay, not yet? All right. Okay, Bob's right behind you. I have Anthony, or you guys over here? Let's make sure that Bob gets his. Okay, everybody's completed their ballots, and Bob is collecting them now. Okay.
Yeah, he shouldn't be touching them, actually.
Okay.
Technically.
Do you want to, Bob, how do you want to collect them?
Pass it to the end.
Oh, yeah, if you guys could just pass them to the end. Ritu is collecting them, and Andrew is fortunately still here. I don't see any other elected officials, representatives. Oh, sorry. So, thank you, Andrew. Democracy in action. Okay, is everybody ready to... Andrew's right behind you. All right.
Go back to my.
You got Ed. Anybody else still have their ballot? If so, raise your hand. Shirley, is that the last one? Okay. Moving on to the reports from SLA 2. Bob?
Okay. Altogether, there are 15 resolutions. Of the 15, 8 of them were actually heard and voted on. The rest are layovers, mostly layovers, 1 or 2 withdrawals. So I'll start with number 1, 11 Carmine Tacos, 11 Carmine Street. This is a tavern wine. It's just a change, a corporate change, a change of ownership, or corporate change in the corporation ownership, or in the name of the corporation, excuse me. That was deny and less resolution, unanimous with stipulations. Number 2 is Bagatelle Cafe, Hotel Gansevoort. I didn't put the address in there, but I think everybody might know where that is. It's in the meatpacking district.
18 9th Avenue, I think.
Yeah. This is a new tavern wine license that they're carving out a portion of it. It's really an alteration to carve out a portion of the lobby to become a small cafe with an outdoor presence. This is deny and less with stipulations as well. Number 3 is Courtyard Management in Soho Hotel, 181 Varick. This is just a transfer of operators in the same hotel, same method of operation. Deny and less, unanimous vote. Number 4, entity to be formed by Sage Fuchs, Michael Fuchs, and Peter Cassell, DBA Keepsake, 301 West 4th Street. This is a new tavern wine license. Location has never been licensed before. It was, it's deny less. The vote was not unanimous. It was 4 to 2. 4 in favor, 2 against. Number 5, Sushi by Bao Meatpacking District, 248 West 14th Street. This is a new on-premise liquor license for a sports bar and a restaurant in the basement. Again, denying less. Resolution. Vote was unanimous. Number 6, Merce Group, DBA Merce, 446 West 14th Street. This is a new on-premise license for a lounge, special event space with DJs, and previously unlicensed location. It's in the basement under the High Line in the meatpacking area. And that was not unanimous. Vote was 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Number 7, RLA 95 7th Avenue South. 95 7th Avenue South. This is a new on-premise license, and the resolution and the vote was to deny, and the vote was unanimous, 6-0. Number 8, finally, is Petno Restaurant, DBA Gaetanas. This is 549 Greenwich Street. It's a new on-premise liquor license. They're essentially moving to a new location, denying less. Resolution and unanimous. The rest, 9 through 15, are layovers and such.
So just for those last ones, there are 2 number 13s. So the second 13 should be 14, and then the 14, 15, and the 15, 16.
Yeah, that's Bob's fault.
And then
Yeah,
also on item number 2, the name needs to be corrected and therefore be it resolved to match the applicant.
You said number 2?
Yeah. We have Page GH Group LLC and therefore, but the applicant is Bagatelle Cafe.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got it.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, they got changed because there's an alteration. That's the problem. There was an alteration plus the new
and
Tavern Wine, and they got mixed up.
So we have items 1 through 8, 9 through 13, and renumbered 14 through 16. Does anybody want to call any of the items out? Okay, number 4. Shirley? Doris? One, okay. All right, so let's just go in the order. So we have item, actually, let me see. So the items that are called out are 1, 2, 4, and 6. Does anybody have any other numbers they want to call out? Okay, so we're going to, is there any willingness to vote on number 3, 5, and 7 through 16? All those in favor of items number 3, 5, and 7 through 16, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Okay, moving on to number 1, 11 Carmine Tacos, LLC. Doris?
Generally, Doris, we don't put in the number of seats. We leave that to our Sidewalk Cafe committee to do. Our Quality of Life committee, excuse me.
That's why.
Sometimes we do, but generally speaking, we don't, but sometimes we do. So I'm sorry for the inconsistency.
Any other comments on item number 1? Any unwillingness to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? All right, item number 1 passes. Item number 2, which is Bagatelle Cafe 1 LLC, Hotel Gansevoort Group LLC, and WSA Gansevoort Group LLC at 18 9th Avenue. Comments? Doris? Would somebody volunteer to walk the mic around? Thank you.
Oh, thank you. The comment I had was about the Sidewalk Cafe. They talk about cafe adjacent to the newly designed lobby for the hotel. It doesn't say, and then it says the cafe will also have an outdoor seating area. And it's very confusing about what's inside the building and what is outside the building.
Well, they're changing the building. They're renovating the lobby.
It's inside or outside?
Well, it's both inside and outside. Okay, and it's within their property line, so there is no sidewalk cafe.
Sidewalk cafe license.
License, excuse me.
But the front of the building is open?
No. No. There's going to be a cafe. They're going to renovate the premises. They're going to put a new window in with a door where there used to not be a window and a door. And they're going to create a cafe where the lobby used to be. So they got to renovate. They haven't done that yet. They're in the process of doing it.
So Doris, the building is not built to the lot line. There's a setback of whatever feet, and that's where the outdoor cafe will be, is in the area in front.
So what paragraph are you saying is not clear, and I'll try to fix that.
6 rather.
6?
Yeah.
Okay, can we, all right, hold on one second, just use the microphone so everybody can.
Okay, we'll make the distinction between interior and exterior, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what the problem is.
Okay, Ritu, you also, can we pass the microphone down to Ritu? Oh, you no longer, okay. Michael, you're left.
No question.
Any other comments? Matt, can you retrieve? Sorry, guys.
Assistant Secretary.
So, I probably shouldn't admit this. I love Bagatelle, but I love Bagatelle because it's you walk inside and it's quite like nobody can hear from the outside what goes on inside, and it's loud. Like it's the loudest bar I've ever been to. Are we a little worried about opening that up?
The Bagatelle is next door. This is the hotel. Yeah, and there were concerns about that, and there are concerns about the hotel because Bagatelle is moving into the hotel, and they still have the place next door. Yeah.
But it's not physically connected to Bagatelle.
Physically, not physically
Got it.
connected.
Sorry. Good.
Any other comments? Seeing none, any unwillingness to vote on item number 2? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions, recusals. All right, the motion carries. Number 4. Oh, excuse me.
Thank you.
Doris is opposed. Okay, thank you. Entity to be formed by Sage Fuchs, Michael Fuchs, and Peter Cassell, DBA Keepsake, 301 West 4th Street. Ritu.
My question really simply was, what was the case for actually granting a new license to a previously unlicensed location?
Well, I actually voted against it, but I think the committee in general thought that well, it's a beer and wine, number 1, tavern wine. I can only think of the negatives. I can't think of the positives because I voted against it. So, but I'm going to do my best. I think it was a fairly reasonable operator coming into the space with the hours that were suggested. And I think that that's really what it came down to for the committee at whole. But I mean, I'll let other people speak because I really wasn't prepared to answer that question, believe it.
Katie, you want to address this? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm reaching over.
The people who are going to operate this business are in the process of purchasing the building. And so members of the committee who voted in favor felt that it was, they were going to be invested in running a good business because they was going to be inside their own property. The parents are, as I recall, successful restaurateurs, and their daughter is going to be running this business. It's sort of a family situation. It was with putting roots that they already live in the neighborhood, and then they're putting roots in on this block. And it made a difference for some of us who were on the committee who were voting in favor. They did say historically that there was a brewery at the site decades ago. But, they did offer that piece of information, and it might have affected some people's decisions. Does anybody else want to say anything from?
I have a question. How long was the storefront vacant?
I don't think it is vacant. I
No.
think it's only, wait, hold on. I think it's been vacant for about a year is what
It's been a
recollect.
high-end clothing store. Marc Jacobs, so it's been a high-end clothing store.
And it's been vacant for 1 year?
I don't know that, whatever.
Any other, Cormac?
Yeah, I just have a question, Bob. I did notice that it says that the applicant, I did notice that it said that the applicant presented neither an LNO or a certificate of occupancy permitting the use. Are we fairly confident that they'll have no trouble getting that? We usually sort of, are not great on extending credit on that unless we feel like there's not any problem. So I just want to check. We don't think there'll be any problem with them getting that, right?
I don't think I don't know that.
There's
Okay,
an
so
existing-
I can't really respond, but generally speaking, you can get a letter of no objection from the building department that will allow it. Now, if they don't, right? If they don't, then they can't do it. They can't do it. So, that's generally the case, but in this case, I can't really say that, they never presented anything, so we can't really comment on it because we don't know.
Cormac, this is in a R zone, and I looked on the improvement cards, which is what predated certificate of occupancy, and it's noted that there is a commercial business on the ground floor.
Thank you.
Shirley?
Thank you. I'm on the committee, but I was absent. So, Bob, did you say why you voted against it? And who is M. Fitzgerald?
Mar Fitzgerald.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, now why did you vote no?
I voted no because I felt like that block, that corner is so oversaturated. I felt like there was going to be a lot of traffic with deliveries, and I think they discussed having basement deliveries and storage there, right there on Bank Street. I walk on that block at least 3 times a day with my kid, and there's just so much going on. I can't even imagine if I lived there, another restaurant, another bar. It's just too much, in my opinion.
Doris?
Yeah, I had several objections to this one. One was, of course, the residential zoning, R6. But then they talked about not getting the letter from the Department of Buildings and the certificate of occupancy permitting them to have that use there. And then I got down to number 7, whereas the applicant stated it would not seek to upgrade this license to a premises license in the future. But according to his attorney, such an agreement was unenforceable. Anyone seeking a license at this premises after the applicant also would not be subject to such an agreement. So I had good questions on this one.
I'm sorry, the question was, I'm not sure I understand what the question was. I'm sorry.
It's a multi-part question.
Yeah.
The fact that he claimed that he would not seek to upgrade his license.
No,
and then says,
yeah.
oh, but of course we can't do that anyway.
No.
It's unenforceable.
No. What was requested, obviously, what the concern was is right across the street, there's 2 wine bars right across the street. And so the concern was that one of the wine bars is already turned into an on-premise liquor license. The other one has not. And now here we go with another one right across the street from the other 2, and would probably come back in a year or 2. That was a concern at least voiced by committee members to the applicant, and the applicant's response was, we're never going to do that, okay? And the lawyer then said, well, basically disagreed with the applicant and said, well, that's not enforceable anyway. So, that was the lawyer's opinion, whether it's enforceable or not. is to be determined sometime in the future if it ever got to that point. But what I did is I put in the resolution that they had agreed to do that, which I think is a positive point for the people that were voting in favor of the license, and that's why I put it in there. The fact that I put in that the lawyer said that, well, that's the lawyer's position, okay? And he's saying that it can't be enforceable, and yet, even though he said that, they agreed to it, okay? So, I mean, it is what it is. But I think that the concern was mostly that there were two locations right across the street that kind of fit the same method of operation.
Any other questions? Is there any unwillingness to vote on item number 4, entity to be formed by Sage Fuchs, Michael Fuchs, and Peter Cassell, DBA Keepsake at 301 West 4th Street? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. You want to help Valerie with the?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
Got Mar Fitzgerald,
Okay.
Doris.
Doris Caesar?
Yep.
You've got Shirley Smith?
Yep.
You've got Bob Ely?
Yep.
Ritu Chatri? You've got Keen Berger? And I think
Keep your hands up if you're on this side of the room.
If you're on this side and you said no, could you raise your hand?
You were not.
No one? Okay.
Oh,
Shirley.
yeah,
Sure.
you are voting no. Okay, Shirley Secunda. Got a checker.
So that's 8 no's. Mar Fitzgerald, Doris Deether, Shirley Smith, Bob Ely, Ritu Chaudhry, Keen Berger, Shirley Secunda, and Valerie De La Rosa.
Is everybody who voted against their name was called? Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Valerie. The motion carries. Item number 6. It's Merced Group LLC at 446 West 14th Street. Doris.
What paragraph are you talking about? I'm sorry. Let me find it first, and then I'll try to answer the question. Okay, so number 6, it's 446 West 14th Street. At the very top, we indicate the address. I'm sorry? A special event space with live DJs is what it says. You want to know what an event space venue is? Okay, it's a place where you can have events, and it's a venue where you can have events. Yeah, special events. So parties mostly.
It's a flexible space, basically.
Yeah.
Would it be more clear if it?
All right, I'll be clear to you, Doris. You can basically do a lot of things at this location, and that's what makes it a special event space.
We're bringing a microphone down.
Thanks, Bob. Since I wasn't there, Bob, what was your opposition to this application?
All right, my opposition to this particular application, and it was a close call for me, but over the years of being the chair of the SLA committee, I've heard nothing but complaints in this particular area of late-night establishments. And basically, it's more than just the fact that this is a late-night establishment. It's adding on to what is in an area that's already got a lot of late-night establishments. And then what's caused by this is, this is a venue with a lot of people, okay? So it has the potential to really add to the existing problem. And we talk about traffic, and traffic is a component to this. And this will add to that traffic quite substantially. It will also, people beep, when I talk about traffic, I'm talking about beeping horn, white, black cars, vehicles picking people up. And then the other complaint that I've heard over the many years is that when they go from one establishment, they'll go to another establishment late at night, and that just causes more problems. So, this particular method of operation is basically anything. And then when you add dancing, right now, dancing is not permitted, but it will be at some point in the future. So you're basically adding a large location to an area that's already had a lot of complaints. And so I think if there was a location to have this type of operation, it is where it should be, okay? But the problem with it is that it adds to so many other problems that currently exist. So that's why I voted against it.
But just to be clear, the committee voted in favor of it, though.
Yeah, so I'm the only person that voted against it, okay?
Okay, but what about people, did people come, community people come?
Yeah, there were.
For and against?
Yes, we did get opposition from people that came, and we also did get emails and communication from other people that were against it, mainly because of the hours. My issue it wasn't necessarily about the hours, it was about the area.
Michael.
Yeah. Question, and I don't know if it's in the resolution, I didn't notice it. Was there a discussion as to how many events there would be? Frequently, when an applicant comes in for an event space, they give an indication, would there be an event every day, would there be 2 a day? Was there any discussion at all of limiting the number of events or in any way capping how many events would occur, how many per day, how many per week, and what hours?
No, because that's what it is. That's what it does. So you can't really limit what it does, because you can limit maybe hours and other things, but its purpose is to be an event space, but also a lounge, and it's a multi-purpose. So it could be a lounge, and then it can change into other things, as they see fit, and then they can have special events as well.
So the implication is it would be under continuous use.
Yes, absolutely. That's what they want.
Katie.
Was it Shirley who raised the question about community? Yes, thank you. I just want to expand on what Bob said. The Marseille group came twice to the committee, and the first time they had been in discussion with the local group and had been saying they would be open till 4 a.m. They were asking for 4 a.m. hours, and the local people said no, that was much too much, and the committee agreed with the local people as well. And so they went away, and they came back the second time with reducing the hours to 2 a.m., which is what the community had landed on would be acceptable, acceptable. And so, and the committee had indicated that would also be acceptable. So we did go a couple rounds with them, and they came back with that adjustment. Yeah, to the application, adjustment to the application. No, but they had met with members of the committee, and we had emails about that.
And Ritu, you had your hand up before?
Committee.
No. Any other comments, questions?
Oh, careful.
Is there any unwillingness to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Bob Ely, Doris Deether, Ritu Chatri, Bo Riccobono, Chenault Spence, and you. Anthony Wong.
7 no votes.
Do you want to read them
No,
out?
I'll read them out. Bob Ely, Doris Deether, Ritu Chatri, Bo Riccobono, Chenault Spence, Valerie De La Rosa, and Anthony Wong.
Okay, everybody? All right, the motion carries. And I think that was all of them for SLA 2, right? All right, so moving on. Joe, thanks for waiting.
Of course. Good evening, CB2 and the thousands of you at home.
Hold on 1 second. Bob, yes. On that note, Bob, everybody's been waiting, so we're going to move back to Bob.
By a vote of 23 to 18, our new Assistant Secretary is Amy Brenna.
Great. All right.
I'm Joe Gallagher, the chair of the Quality of Life Committee. Our first resolution is for a newsstand. in front of 133 West 11th Street at the corner of 7th Ave and West 11th Street. The applicant failed to appear before the committee, and the committee recommends denial of the application for this newsstand, recommended unanimously. And I have to put these on the floor first, Carter?
Yes, so we have a motion to adopt all of the 19 resolutions to be put on the floor to be considered?
So moved.
Because we didn't have a quorum.
We didn't know quorum.
All right, thank you, they're on the floor.
Thank you. The next are the new applications for revocable consent to operate an unenclosed sidewalk cafe. The first for the Standard High Line at 848 Washington Street with 24 tables and 76 chairs. The committee recommends approval of the application for revocable consent for this applicant, recommended unanimously. The next is CCAJ Corp., Amici Ristorante at 165 Mulberry Street between Broome and Grand Street with 3 tables and 6 chairs. And the committee recommends approval of this application, recommended unanimously. The next is 232 Bleecker at 232 Bleecker Street at Carmine with 6 tables and 18 chairs. The committee recommends unanimous approval of this application. Is that right? Okay. And then we have the street activity applications. The first is February 28th through March 1st, and it's the Spotify Black History Month pop-up event on Worcester Street between Prince and Spring Streets, a partial sidewalk closure on the west side, and a curb lane closure on 228 only. The committee recommends denial of this event, 5 in favor and 1 against. The next is March 7th and 8th, 2020, intermix voting booth on Prince Street between Mercer Street and Green Street. It's directly in front of 98 Prince Street, and this is a partial sidewalk closure, the south side only. The committee unanimously recommends denial of this application. The next, March 25th, 2020, is the annual Triangle Shirtwaist Fire commemoration. This is on Green Street between West 4th and Waverly Place, and Washington Place between Washington Square East and Mercer Street, a full street closure. The committee unanimously recommends approval of this application. The next is May 3rd, 2020, Little West 12th Street pop-up, the Stonewall Democratic Club, Little West 12th between 9th and Washington Street. The committee unanimously recommends approval of this application. Next is May 16th, 2020, the Village Fair and Expo, the Stonewall Rebellion Veterans Association. This is on Broadway between Waverly Place and East 14th Street, a full street closure. The committee unanimously recommends denial of this application. Friday, Saturday, and Sundays from May 22nd to September 7th, 2020, the Little Italy Pedestrian Mall. This is on Mulberry Street between Canal and Broome Streets, and Hester Street between Mott and Baxter Streets. A sidewalk and full street closure, both sides. The committee unanimously recommends approval of this application. On September 14th through the 28th, the 94th Annual Feast of San Gennaro, on Mulberry Street between Canal and East Houston Streets, on Grand Street between Mott and Center Streets, and on Hester Street between Mott and Center Streets, a full street closures. The committee unanimously recommends approval of this application. And then we have street activity renewals 12 through 19. None of them were called out for a public hearing, and no member of the public appeared to oppose or support these applications, and the committee unanimously recommends approval of all of them.
Would anybody like to call out any items 1 through 19? Shirley. Sorry, Shirley's call out 5. Doris? You have a question? Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted to call out 5 and then Doris was speaking. Let me just, sorry, I had confusion, all right. Shirley, yes, you have a question on number 5, which is, yes.
Spotify is a streaming music service like Pandora, so they're a platform for musicians. Oh yeah, it's a national or probably multinational corporation, yeah.
And Doris, you had a question as well? For 16 and 17, the Broadway Festival and Broadway Village Fair, same date, Broadway between Waverly and East 14th, and Broadway between Waverly and East 14th. And good catch.
Yeah, that's problematic. What do you think we should do, Bob?
Bring it to their attention.
To SAPO's attention?
Well, one of them is obviously wrong, so we'll just correct it. I guess if you accept us correcting it when we get back to the office, we'll fix it. We'll fix it at that time.
Sure. Thanks, Doris.
All right. Yes, very good catch. Janet, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. I mean, because these are renewals that have taken place year after year, we don't put them on the agenda for a public hearing, so they weren't discussed at the meeting to that detail, but I would agree that we should raise that same concern for those.
And just to bring everybody, since the changes on 14th Street requiring passenger vehicles to turn on the next available turn, Broadway is, because it's a popular venue for street fairs, has become an issue. And so the question is, how is that going to impact 14th Street? And also because, people are taking different routes than they ordinarily would, what's the impact of that? What's the impact of that going to be? And there's automated ticketing, so I'm not sure if that can be set up for.
Yeah, we asked the applicant for the Stonewall Veterans Rebellion group, and Mardi Gras, who is the commercial sponsor, and they had no idea whether it was being addressed in any way.
I guess we should send a letter, maybe
to SAPO.
Draft a letter and just outline this, because
Yeah,
there are a couple of other streets, right, or maybe not.
To have fairs on?
No, that are impacted by 14th Street.
Oh.
The
turns.
Yeah, so we got Fifth. Just.
I don't think we have. I can't remember any. Yeah, University, but that's
different.
Yeah, you're not allowed to go south, right?
Yeah.
It goes one.
Something we should bring to their attention, because it's obviously different.
Do you think we should pull 15 and to pull those out?
Should we include those as the focus of our letter and any others, maybe?
Sure.
Do it that way?
But still vote to recommend approval. We could pull those out and do a new vote.
We have plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
Because they might have, okay, so we should pull them out and.
Pull them out, yeah, maybe we can ask them to appear, Bob, or?
Does anybody have any comments on that, pulling them out? Objections to pulling them out?
Numbers that
Okay.
we're pulling out?
We can pull them out, and we can even ask them to appear, but as you said a minute ago, these are grandfathered. There's all the multi-block fairs, there's a moratorium on them, but anyone that have been in existence for many, many years, they get automatically approved. So we can raise objections, but I don't know that we can.
But it's in conflict with the new street regulations for vehicular traffic, that people would automatically get tickets from the bus cameras. So that's a different, because they might be able to be relocated, move the block south, whatever, right? There's a million other.
Why don't we pull them out and we'll write a letter concerning the ones on Broadway and then see what SAPO says in response. Right?
To pull them out?
Pull them out,
so
yeah.
Everybody's good with that? All right, so we're going to vote on, is there any unwillingness to vote on items 1 through 15 and 18 and 19? You know what, everybody's ready to vote, okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? All right, all the items carry, and we're going to pull out those 2 items. Now moving on to traffic and transportation.
Okay, we just have one resolution unanimously approved. I will read you the title and then tell you a little bit about it. This is a resolution requesting a study including test applications and evaluations of curbside access for package deliveries by commercial vehicles, taxi and car service pickup and drop-off, and loading and unloading of personal vehicles in Community Board 2 Manhattan, with selection of test areas based on community input. And the reason that we have been working on this resolution, this is our second time back, is because we are very concerned about the increasing incursion of e-commerce package deliveries on our streets, which cause tremendous amounts of congestion, particularly a tremendous amount of double parking, which hinders the movement of traffic and also endangers pedestrians. So we are proposing a study which involves a very short-term trial project of curb access for these kinds of vehicles to see how they will affect the progress of traffic and safety on the street. And we are asking for it to involve, this is of course asking DOT to involve community input. And I didn't say, and I think we probably should have it in the resolution, with coordination by Community Board 2, obviously, if we're going to reach out to all these different organizations in our community. And I will just read you the resolves as quickly as I can, which further describe what we're proposing, which is DOT, we request that DOT conduct a study of curbside access in our district, including test applications and analysis of added loading zones for goods and people, with selection of test areas based on community input. And I would put with that, with coordination by Community Board 2. I offer that friendly amendment. Further, that we ask that DOT focus on locations identified by the community as being problematic. Further, urge DOT to also engage the community in evaluation of the test applications as the study progresses, and request DOT to return to CB2 within 6 months after the studies start, with an evaluation of the test applications and further ideas on how curbside regulations can be improved to address current demands for such access, curb access, relieve congestion, and make our streets safer for all road users, with recommendations for added curbside access in CB2.
Discussion? Shirley?
It sounds like a great idea. I guess what comes to mind is that talk a little bit about what will the community input look like? We're selecting people, if they're selecting?
Yeah, well, from our discussion, and maybe we have to get some clarification there in the resolution, that it probably would include questionnaires that we would put together with DOT, and we would be responsible for distributing. Is that what you mean, Shirley? Or who actually would participate? Because we thought of it as being block associations, community organizations like BAMRA, and identification of locations.
Katie? Sorry, these people had their hands up in the first round.
Hi, Lincoln. Last month, when we talked about this, I raised a couple questions and actually have thought of a third question. I'm still concerned with the fact that we're going to be, for instance, if 8th Street between Broadway and University was chosen as a good place for this curbside delivery truck station or spot, what what impact does that have on the mortar and brick business if we're allowing the e-commerce, which is their major competitor, to have free space, and they're paying rent and taxes? How are they going to? How is our business community and maybe our 8th Street Alliance going to react to that?
Yeah, and obviously, we're hoping there will be several suggestions, and then I think there could be an evaluation between CB2 and DOT as to which ones might actually make good tests. So that would be one, and I remember your comments from last month, and all I can say is there is space for specific commercial deliveries to these shops. You know, that's commercial regulations as well.
Right.
Now, they're not in every place, obviously, but there are provisions for delivery.
Well, I know, but I'm just trying to, they're in and out, whereas the complaint about these trucks is that the Amazon people sort of just take over for an extended period of time. And I
guess our thought is that you need to test this and see how it works.
Now the other,
see in what situations it works and in what situations it doesn't.
It seems to me, in looking at the resolution more thoroughly tonight, there are two things that you're trying to do, and they're not really the same thing. There's the truck delivery issue, and then there's the drop-off delivery issue. And it's my experience, even taking the bus here tonight with Tom, we were on the same M55, that if there's a free open space at the sidewalk where someone might like to pull up to drop off someone, another car might be standing there. The bus stop was filled with an Uber vehicle. So how are we going to monitor? The part of my reservation about this is making more space on the street does not mean that it's exactly available when a taxi pulls up. There's always someone else perching there. And how would we defend against that?
You're saying somebody will double park and wait to pull in?
No, that if you said that you wanted to have a place for a taxi to pull up and discharge someone at the sidewalk instead of in the street. But it's my experience that those spaces are all taken. Even there is an Uber driver who's taking a nap. If there's a free space, someone is in that space. So how would this drop-off situation improve things? I am a little bit confused.
If you would address that, and then Janet's next. Or
Sure.
A couple of the things, this probably would not apply to 8th Street because that's actually a very highly functioning street, because ever since they put in the meters, there's quick turnover and there's very little double parking. And nothing's perfect. You're just trying to make it better. And I know where I live, there's no parking across the street, and there's also a drop-off zone in front of 1/5. And the cars move in and out. Maybe occasionally there's a car there, but normally the idea is that people are being dropped off. And then also they do ticket, because the DOT is piloting a program right now in Chelsea, and they're pretty rigorous about ticketing people who hang out too long in a no parking spot.
Yeah, and I might add that this is really very similar to the DOT program, the difference being that the community has their say in which areas.
Tom?
Test.
I basically just have a question. I'm trying to get some information. As you know, on Fifth Avenue between 12th and 8th Street, close near, say, 9th Street, there's there's bicycle lanes at the curb. And so I'm wondering, how would this automobile get to the curb? They'd have to go into the bicycle lane. Wouldn't that cause problems for the bicyclists?
So I don't think that those would be the areas that would be candidates for testing. They would have to be areas where there is space.
Susanna?
It seems to me that this resolution is just asking for a study of a very complicated issue. So I would like to call the question, because I think that discussing where the cars are going to stop or not, it's not going to get resolved now, and all this resolution is doing is asking for a study, which clearly seems to merit.
Second.
So, okay, and just if you call the question and then make a statement, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be doing it and making a statement, and then other people can comment on it, because I'm just saying that's, as far as we're going forward in the future, well, no, but that's why we're having our training, but just as a point, it's, you can't end discussion on
That's it.
right. Thank you. Cormac, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of calling to question?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's called to question. And now we're going to be voting on the resolution as it's written. Is there any unwillingness to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Sands and Ordinary.
Abstentions? Recusals?
Okay,
Okay.
Bob Ely is voting no, and Donna.
Rocio Sands, Katie Bordenaro, Bob Ely, and Donna Raftery have said no. Is there any other no votes?
Okay, motion carries. Parks and Waterfront? Rich?
Commercial break.
This
Right,
is just-
all right.
We're doing now.
So we had two topics. One was feedback on a design that was proposed for the renovation of Mercer Playground. And there are 13 whereas clauses. I'll read the therefore. Therefore, be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan appreciates the funding provided by NYU and the efforts of the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation to renovate the central play area of Mercer Playground, and requests that the proposed and presented design be updated to reflect the recommendations and concerns expressed at this meeting, and requests details on how the existing $350,000 construction budget is planned to be allocated, and requests implementation of an updated design, notwithstanding the concern that the scope is more limited than desired, and requests that in parallel to the forward progress of implementing this plan, the New York City Parks Department, in conjunction with NYU, develop a master plan designed for the entire playground, including the adjoining passive area to the south and sprinkler area to the north, and the keyed access to the adjacent Key Park, while efforts to secure additional funding to expand the budget are undertaken. And that was passed unanimous. I'll make that as an update.
Okay. Yes, and second item, or hold on, we'll just let me read out both of them.
What's that? Oh, and then the second one. Yeah, the second one, you heard about that, this a little bit. This is a resolution in support of a proposal to honor Raymond Ray Pagan at James J. Walker Park. Therefore, be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan thanks the community members who have brought this proposal to our attention and appreciates the stories, memories, and recollections that conveyed Mr. Pagan's impact and influence, and supports this effort to honor the legacy of Ray Pagan, and appreciates consideration of this proposal by the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation.
Rocio, would you like to call out one of the two items? Okay, all right, now that they're both separated, let's discuss item number one. Does anybody? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That won't change. That will remain as it is today. We didn't discuss the future entrance of Key Park.
Is there any other discussion on item number one? Lois? We're discussing item number one.
No, there's no, I'm not sure where, I'm not sure why. No, that's not being considered, no.
Any other discussion on item number 1? Any unwillingness to vote? All those in favor of the first resolution regarding Mercer Playground?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? The first resolution carries. Second resolution in support of the proposal to honor Raymond Ray Pagan to James J. Walker Park. Discussion?
No, he coached multiple sports. He coached many sports. He coached, yeah, on the field, yes. Indeed. Yes, Janine? Yeah, one of the things I probably should have put in there, back in the old days, it used to be used by bar leagues. There were no youth sports that teams from the local bars would play there. And one of the things that was mentioned is that Ray really pushed to get those bar leagues off and get youth sports to be played there. So if you are in a bar league, I'm sorry, you don't get it. It's Ray's. Yeah.
Katie.
On number 10, in the whereases, so is the Parks Department likely to say no to this?
No.
Okay.
No.
And I just also want to say that he had a summer camp there. I don't know, I remember my kids were little, that he also ran a summer camp.
Yeah.
It was all day, 5 days a week
Yeah.
for the kids, and it was very affordable.
Michael?
This is a naming of the playground only, is that correct?
No.
The ball field. But what about the Dapolito Center? I heard that a little bit earlier.
No,
That will remain unchanged.
That
Yeah.
remains unchanged, and it will still remain the Dapolito Center.
That is correct. Yeah, this changed, and I didn't realize it at the time and then during the conversation, but the ball field is not currently named. The idea here would be to name the field, not change the name, not rename it, but to call out the field and name it after Mr. Pagan.
Change any other name.
No other name. We're just asking that it goes to the Parks Department for them to go through their process.
Bob? You had your hand up?
So, this is, I think, it's the same similar question, a little different. There's going to be a plaque. Do we know where the plaque is going to be?
No.
Okay.
We don't know what will be on it. We did suggest it would be nice to explain a little more than just the name and dates, that there be some narrative written that conveys why he was important to the people who have put forth this proposal, but.
I just think in common sense, people are always going to call it J.J. Walker Park. And so the question then becomes is it ever going to be advertised as something differently by the Parks Department? In other words, are they going to say, go to the baseball field at Pagan Park? I think that is the concern that was voiced a little bit, but I think that's a little bit of my concern. Because I kind of agreed with the lady that came in from St. Luke's Place, that, there's a reason why it's called J.J. Walker. But I guess as long as I understand that J.J. Walker is still going to be the name, and I think it will be.
Yes, it will be James J. Walker Park, and if that was not, there's no proposal to change that. The field would be the Ray Pagan Field at J.J. Walker Park. Yeah.
Any other comments?
That was a little complicated during the conversation because I didn't, quite honestly, we didn't realize that the field was not named anything. There was no name of the field at the time.
Robin?
Does J.J. Walker have any kind of narrative or plaque where it's called J.J. Walker Park? Because I think maybe the two people who were here before, now there's a plaque and this guy Ray, but J.J. there below the park name has no plaque.
There's no, we don't know what we were asked to do was hear the proposal and pass it to the Parks Department for consideration. The commissioner makes the decision of whether it'll be named and what would be presented. We ask that they consider the proposal. I don't know if there's a sign describing James J. Walker, and all his escapades. But you should look it up. It's a good story.
Is there a way that we maybe like a friendly amendment in the resolution, make it almost a deny less? In other words, what we're saying is that we go along with this, we agree with this for Mr. Pagan, but at the same time, we don't want the park renamed Pagan Park. We want it to be J.J. Walker Park, but Pagan Field at J.J. Walker Park, something like that.
That's not the proposal, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the proposal. I'm not comfortable with that.
The proposal.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Shirley?
Yeah, it's Suzanne was just calling out. It is in the resolution. If you look at the resolution, it makes very, very clear that we're talking about naming
Yeah.
the ball field within James J. Walker Park.
Right.
I think Shirley was suggesting you read the resolution, Bob. As somebody who says that to others.
Yeah.
Chanel?
Second.
All those in favor of calling to question?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so now we're moving on to vote with respect to the resolution in support of the proposal to honor Raymond Ray Pagan at James J. Walker Park. It's a roll call vote. Valerie?
Thank you. Susanna Aaron. Keen Berger. Carter Booth.
Aye.
Katie Bordenaro. Anita Brandt. Amy Brenna. Rich Cacapolo.
Aye.
Ritu Chaudhry. Tom Connor. Coral Dawson. Valerie Del Rosa, aye. Doris Diether. Bob Ely. Mar Fitzgerald. Cormac Flynn. Joseph Gallagher. David Gruber, not here. Wayne Kawadler. Susan Kent. Janine Kiley. Patricia Laria. Michael Levine. Janet Liff. Ed Ma. Maud Marin. Matt Metzger. Daniel Miller. Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono. Robin Rothstein. Sandy Russo. Rocio Sands. Scott Sartiano. Shirley Secunda.
All right, I'll see you in the morning.
Aye. Kristen Shea. Kristen Shea. Frederica Siegel. Georgia Silvera Siemens. Dr. Shirley Smith.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Chenault Spence.
That we put in.
Yes.
Wasn't it? And that wasn't part of the original.
Susan Wittenberg. Anthony Wong. Adam Zeldin. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I thought it was all over there. It has to go back.
All right, thank you. Is there any new business? Shirley, you have new business? Right, that's something that we've been discussing in executive, and we're going to be putting together a bylaws committee. Okay, any other new business? Motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
We're adjourned. Thank you.